Chapter 21 How can it be that Big Brother got number 1? The sky was not yet bright, and the sun had yet to rise. The east sky just began to turn bright, the dark colors in the sky slowly fading away, the smell of the night still remaining in the air. The streets were empty, then came the sounds of quick footsteps. The early dawn mountain air was moist, yet Gu Fang Zheng did not feel the slightest cold rush, his heart was full of surging enthusiasm. His face blushed red, and now he was walking swiftly toward the academy. I have been cultivating hard these few days, spending 2 primeval stones. I did not sleep at all last night, and I've finally successfully refined the Moonlight Gu. I am an A-grade talent and I was so hardworking. No one can be faster than me, no one. Father and mother, I told you I won't let you feel disappointed. When he thought of the moment where he told his aunt and uncle about the good news earlier, they expressed happiness and relief, making Fang Zheng feel a surge of joy and pride. Just wait, all you clanspeople who look down on me, and Big Brother. From today onwards, I shall make you all look up to me, Gu Fang Zheng. The more he thought the more Fang Zheng felt excited. He could not help but clench his fists, and his pace quickened a little more. He came to the academy entrance. The academy's 2 guards looked at him strangely. They asked him, Gu Fang Yuan, why are you back? What, Big Brother was here just now? When Fang Zheng heard them, his face showed a hint of surprise and puzzlement. Ah, whatever, he would never have guessed that Fang Yuan would snatch away number 1. He shook his head and cupped his hands together, his tone carrying a trace of arrogance. 2 elder brothers, I am not Gu Fang Yuan, but I'm Gu Fang Zheng. I have already successfully refined my vital Gu, and I am here to come and take the top prize. You are Gu Fang Zheng. You brothers are just too alike, no wonder the academy elder was mistaken, the guard on the left side shouted, his eyes widening. The guard on the right shook his head and said, you came 1 step too late. Just last night in the late hour, your older brother Gu Fang Yuan came and met with Sir Elder and took the top prize. My older brother. Fang Zheng suddenly opened his eyes wide, crying out, wait, you said he'd gotten number 1. How can this be? Isn't his big brother a C-grade talent? Getting number 1, this has to be a joke, right? It's true, how could we possibly joke around with this matter? Seeing Fang Zheng in disbelief, the guard seemed somewhat unhappy. This matter has been confirmed by the academy elder. In due course the name list will be released and announced. What's wrong, your older brother did not tell you about it? The other guard added. Fang Zheng just stood silly at the door. The truth was so much different from his imagination, right now he just could not understand what had just happened. In Fang Zheng's heart, there were several illusions of his adversaries. Among them, the ones that brought the most threat were 2, Yu Mo Bei, and Gu Kai Lian. These 2 were of B-rank talent. Behind them were the clan's 2 largest family branches, and each of them had a grandfather that carried huge authority as elders, as well as sufficient financial power. If any of these 2 people won first place over him, Fang Zheng's heart and mind was still prepared. Even though he would feel a sense of loss, it was still acceptable. But right now, the one who took away number 1 was not Gu Mo Bei or Gu Kai Lian, it was not even any of the opponents in his heart. But it was Gu Fang Yuan, his older brother. That person with a C-grade talent. That person who fell downhill and turned dejected after the awakening ceremony. That person who slept soundly in class all day. That person who was always heavily drunk and never turned home at night. That person who bullied Shen Kui, slapped him twice, and took all his primeval stones away. That person who always held him down, just like a shadow entrenched in his heart. How can it be like this? It can't be possible. In a short while, Fang Zheng roared in his heart, I was so hardworking, but he just drank every day until he became drunk, and yet in the end he was the one who got number 1, is this even fair? Why? The sun rose from the east, the birds chirped around, and the overflowing air of spring took over Qingmao Mountain. Gu Fang Zheng bathed in the warm sunlight. He slowly lowered his head, gritting his teeth, looking at his own lonely shadow. The excitement in his heart had turned into a balloon that leaked air, long dissipating. Instead what took its place was the emotions of confusion, resentment, unwillingness, puzzlement, fear and other complicated feelings. As time went by, the sun climbed higher. The academy bulletin wall had posted a new name list, and on the list were just 2 names, firstly Fang Yuan, and then Fang Zheng. Following the appearance of this list, the news gradually spread out. After hearing the news, all those young students who had been bent on refining their GU at home after receiving one were in an uproar. How can it be like this? If it was Fang Zheng who got number 1 I would still have believed it, but it's Fang Yuan, isn't he a C-grade talent? Could there have been a mistake? The A-grade talent Fang Zheng actually lost to the C-grade talent Fang Yuan. Is this Tales from the 1001 Nights 1? The Mo branch family home. The greenery in the courtyard was overflowing, the fragrance of tea dancing about. One of the clan elders of the Guu clan, Guu Mobei, was sitting in front of his desk, looking at the spring scenery outside his window. He leisurely drank his tea and said, Mobei hasn't continued refining his Gu. The housekeeper standing at a side hurriedly replied, after he heard about news concerning Fang Yuan in the afternoon, young Master Mobei seemed to be deeply affected and has no mood to continue refining the moonlight Gu. It is a pity, young Master Mobei was just so close to succeeding. Actually, if Fang Zheng got number 1 it could still be ignored, but it just has to be that C-grade talent Fang Yuan. So young Master Mobei lost his interest, it can't be helped. HMPH. Do not excuse him. Guu Mo Chen snorted coldly, his face stern and his tone hard. A Gu master's cultivation process is full of hardship each step. What is a small setback like this? That Fang Yuan is just a C-grade, so to be able to get number 1 it is presumably because of luck. The moonlight Gu that he chose must have had a weak will, so that is how he could snatch the top. If Mobei can't see through this and let such a small setback get to him, then how is he supposed to be in charge of our Mo family branch in future? How can he compete with the Kai family branch? No one is allowed to advise him, let him think about it by himself. Yes, master, the housekeeper did not dare refute. Almost at the same time, in the home of the Kai family branch. Sigh, Guu Fang Yuan. The clan elder Guu Kai Lian gave a long sigh, his brows held down in a frown as he thought, waving his hand around. Someone, call young Master Kai Chen over please. In a moment, Guu Kai Chen walked into the room with a lost expression, kneeling down with respect. Your grandson greets his grandpa. Seems like you already know about the news. Guu Kai Lian stared at his only direct grandson, his tone gentle. He slowly said, I called you over to prevent you from getting influenced by this matter. You see, when refining the vital Gu, firstly one looks at the talent, secondly at the Gu worm. Fang Yuan's talent is just C-grade, yet he was able to gain number 1 this time. This means that the Gu he chose compared to all the moonlight Gu your peers have, has a will that is much weaker. This is entirely due to luck. So my grandson, do not be discouraged, this is nothing really. He is just a C-grade talent, though he is the same as you, but his supply of resources is not as well as yours. His road to advancement will also be harder than yours, believe your grandpa, you will soon surpass him. Hence you should put away this trivial matter. Fang Yuan will not be your opponent, and is not worthy to be your adversary. Your real enemies are the A-grade talent Fang Zheng and the Mo family's Mobei. Do you understand? Yes, thank you for your advice, grandpa. I understand. I will go now and continue refining my Gu. Guu Kai Chen had lost the sad expression on his face, replacing it with a high-spirited will to fight. Elder Guu Kai Lian nodded his head, satisfied. A kindly smile emerged from his face and he said, good grandson. While your talent is only C-grade, but you can be rest assured that grandpa will fully support you. Later on, I will come out and use the aura of a rank 3 Gu worm to suppress your moonlight Gu's will and help you refine this Gu. Chapter 22 Dancing Moonblade. The sky was blue and clear, looking pure as if it had been washed clean. The sun was shining golden. Puffs of white clouds floated away, and a group of colorful peacock parrots chirped as they flew beneath the blue sky, forming an arrow formation under the clouds as they soared. This variant of colorful parrots would only appear in large groups during springtime. Their bodies were littered with feathers the color of the rainbow, their bodies the size of an eagle. The birds had parrot beaks, while their tails were that of a peacock's flowing long tail. It had been 10 days since the day Fang Yuan managed to acquire number 1 in the test to refine the vital Gu. The spring breeze blew over the whole mountain's green grass, while the wild flowers bloomed eagerly, and the bees and butterflies danced around together. Life was surging all around, it was the wonderful beauty of spring. The breath of spring was so strong that the tall bamboo walls surrounding the training grounds could not hold it back. This training field occupied 3-1. The ground was flat, paved with a layer of thick and wide gray graphite. Its 4 sides were planted with green spear bamboo. These green poles were placed closely together side by side, straight and tall, forming a circle of green high walls. While below the wall corners were stone as well, clumps of green grass emerged from many areas. In between the bamboo were also some wild roses, poking in from the outside, a few even climbing the wall. 57 young teens at the age of 15 were standing in the midst of the training field right now, formed in a semicircle around the academy elder who was in the center, putting their focus on him. This was a lesson to teach the students on how to use the Moonlight GU. The Moonlight GU is our GUU clan's symbolic GU, just like the Shang 2 houses Bear Strength GU, and the Bite 3 houses Stream GU. The majority of you on the field have chosen the Moonlight GU as your vital GU, so you must all watch properly. Soon I will demonstrate personally how to use the Moonlight GU to attack. Students whose vital GU is not the Moonlight GU must also concentrate on me, as this classical long-distance attacking method can also be used on other GU. The spectrum of methods one can use is very wide. As he spoke, the academy elder stretched out his right hand, his 5 fingers opening wide. He lowered his palm so that the young teens could see the center of it. Firstly, you use your mind to mobilize the Moonlight GU, moving it to the center of your palm. Following his voice, the crescent mark that represented the Moonlight GU moved down the elder's arm and into his palm. Then, you mobilize the primeval essence in your aperture, pouring it into the Moonlight GU. A thread of white-silver colored primeval essence gushed out from the elder's body, so fine it was almost impossible to see. It entered the Moonlight GU in his palm. The academy elder was of a rank 3 realm, and only rank 3 GU masters could produce white-silver colored primeval essence. Rank 1 GU Master's primeval essence was commonly known as green copper primeval essence, while rank 2 GU Masters had theirs called red iron primeval essence. When they reached rank 3, it becomes white silver primeval essence. Once it absorbed the thread of white silver primeval essence, the crescent-shaped mark in the elder's hand instantly glowed brighter and brighter. Although it was daytime, it still issued a brilliant pale blue light. That's awesome, how beautiful. The youngsters could not help but let out praises of surprise and amazement when they saw it. The pale blue light was clear like water. It flickered faintly in the elder's palm. At first glance it would seem as if the academy elder's hand was scooping a handful of moonlight. The academy elder smiled a little. Now watch carefully, the last step is just like how I will do it, launching it out. As he said this, his widely opened 5 fingers slowly closed together, then he lifted his arm up and slowly moved it forward, his arm straight. Finally he waved his palm lightly in a cutting motion. The entire movement was steady and powerful. Swoosh. The young students could hear a light brushing sound beside their ear. Following the academy elder's movement, the condensed water-like pale blue light in his palm was thrown out like that. The light transformed into a small moonblade in the air, the faint blue moonblade only the size of a wide-open hand, the shape just like the crescent moon in the night sky. It drew a straight line in the air before it hit a grass puppet 10 meters away. A tearing sound was heard, and the grass puppet's neck that was about 30 centimeters thick was cut clean by the moonblade. The puppet's body swayed about, the huge head suddenly falling onto the floor. After cutting the grass puppet into half, the moonblade immediately appeared dimmer. However, it continued flying about another 6 meters in the air before the crescent began to gradually fade away, finally dissipating in the air. Looking at the grass puppet's neck again, one could see that the cut area was extremely flat, as if it was cut away by the sharpest sickle. The youngsters were all shocked as they saw this, their eyes wide open. A few of them even touched their own necks involuntarily, astonished by the attacking power of the moonblade. After a short silence, the sounds of exclamation began. The teenagers had shining eyes as they stared at the grass puppet, some of them staring at the elder's palm. A few of them were looking at their peers, talking and whispering excitedly. Only Fang Yuan stood hidden in the crowd with a cold expression, his stature calm. In his previous life, Fang Yuan had cultivated to rank 6, and he had created the Blood Wing Demon sect in the Middle Kingdom. He taught tens of thousands of people, and was reputed as a giant figurehead of the demonic faction, his fame illustrious. The academy elder was just a rank 3 GU master. This small trick was just child's play to him, it would not cause any ripple of emotion in Fang Yuan's heart. All those of you who have refined the Moonlight GU, step out. Each one of you shall take a grass puppet and follow the way I just did it, throwing out the moonblade, practice attacking. Once the academy elder was finished, around 30 students stepped out. In this batch the entire clan had 100 young teens joining the awakening ceremony. Those who had cultivating talent were around 57. Among these students, those who had chosen the Moonlight Gun numbered around 35. After going through these few days of hard work, they had all refined the Moonlight GU. Those that were left were all D-grade talents. It was not because they did not desire to refine the Moonlight GU, but it was due to the inability of their talent, so they could only withdraw after learning of the difficulty. To the youngsters of the GUU clan, the Moonlight GU was not a simple GU worm, but the symbol of the clan's glory. Very quickly 35 of them stood in a row. Each of them faced forward, standing 10 meters away from a grass puppet on the opposite. Fang Yuan stood in the middle of the row, but he did not garner any attention. The practice began. The students all stretched out their right hands, letting the Moonlight GU move to the heart of their palm. One by one the blue crescent mark started to give out water blue light as green copper primeval essence was poured in. But when they drew a vertical cut with their palm, only 7 or 8 crescents flew out. Among these crescents, some of them only appeared for a short moment before dissipating away. Some flew out for 2 to 3 meters before disintegrating into blue light with a bang. Some flew further, but the direction was severely off course, flying straight up to the sky. The young teens all frowned. When they saw the elders' demonstration earlier it seemed quite easy. But when they started practicing themselves, they realized the skill required in this action. To throw out a moonblade and to have it hit on the grass puppet, it really was not that simple. The elder had a faint smile as he watched. He saw this scene every year, and was not surprised. The remaining 22 students could only stand outside the field, watching jealously. After practicing for 5 minutes, the youngsters were gradually able to produce moonblades. For a time in the training ground, pale blue-colored moonblades flew about everywhere. A few moonblades would fade halfway, a few unluckily crashing into another. Some flew out of the training field, twisting around. Those that were able to hit on the grass puppets were just a small few. Of course these were all due to sheer luck. The academy elder started to tutor and guide each one personally. He focused greatly on Fang Zheng, Mo Bei and Kai Cheng and those others with good latent talent. He patiently corrected their postures, teaching them his experience. Towards those C-grade talent students like Fang Yuan, he only mentioned 2 sentences. Fang Yuan kept condensing the blue light in his hand. He waved his palm a few times cutting the air, but he did not release the light, pretending and acting. With the field a mess at the moment and no one focusing on himself, he moved his thoughts and released his hold on the Moonlight GU, his palm tilting a little, making a cutting action. In order not to raise attention, he did not focus on his own grass puppet opposite him, but aimed at the one on his left. With a whoosh, a moonblade flew out quickly, passing through the center of chaos, drawing a straight line in the air and cutting accurately into the neck area of a grass puppet. The grass puppet wavered for a moment, the neck area cut deeply by the moonblade. But very quickly, the green grassy area that was cut began to regrow, tangling together and healing away the wound. Of course, this grass puppet was not a normal scarecrow. It was a rank 1 scarecrow GU, having the nature type ability of self-recovery. Unless the puppet was cut into half at once, it would just recover back to normal in a short while. Wow, look at that crescent. How cool, who threw it? Moonblades that were able to hit grass puppets right now were rare. Fang Yuan just casually hit one, yet it caused the most significant result so far. Thus in an instant the students outside the field gave out cries of surprise. Even the academy elder's attention was caught, and he asked, that moonblade just now was not bad. Was it yours? He looked at a C-grade talent student with an inquiring eye, since that grass puppet was just opposite him. This male student blinked his eyes, feeling somewhat bewildered as he faced everyone's sudden gazes at him. To be honest, the field was just in a chaos earlier with moonblades flying about, so even he did not know if it was he himself who threw it. However, looking at it, it probably is me, thought the young boy. Then he nodded his head subconsciously. The youngsters around him immediately looked at him with admiration. Who is he? What is his name? Some of the girl students asked around. Even he can throw out a moonblade, I must not lose. Guu Mo Bei's eyes flashed with a hint of determination. So it's not Big Brother who threw it, Guu Fang Zheng inexplicably sighed with relief. After uncle and aunt consoled him, he was able to recover from the previous blow. Big Brother, you won first place last time because your luck was good, picking a weak-willed Moonlight GU. A GU master's cultivation cannot always rely on luck, I will win you. Fang Zheng was cheering for himself in his heart. You did well, continue trying hard, seize the feeling you had earlier. The academy elder patted the student's shoulder, smiling as he encouraged him. The young boy quickly showed excitement and he nodded continuously, his eyes appearing with a different luster. The elder took the opportunity and announced, listen up everyone, this will be your homework. Practice well after class, in 3 days I will check the results. Whoever performs the best will receive 10 pieces of primeval stones as the prize. Understand? Yes, the young students all shouted loudly. They could not help but be more excited when they heard about the primeval stone reward. However, only 3 minutes later, the moonblades that flew about in the air started to thin gradually. Damn, every single moonblade takes up 10% of primeval essence. The consumption of the moonblade is just too much. I am just a C-grade talent, my aperture can only hold 38% of green copper primeval essence. I can only throw out 3 moonblades. Those that stopped all sighed. The academy elder was calm as he witnessed everything, but his heart sighed. This is the benefit of those with high cultivating talent. To use the moonblade, it is simply just 3 words, practice makes perfect. Those with higher grade talent are able to hold more primeval essence in their apertures, and the rate of recovery is faster, so they have more chances to practice. Those with poorer talent can also use primeval stones to make up for it, strengthening the number of practices. But those with low grade talent and have no primeval stones, though they have the mind to practice, they will still be powerless. Sigh, the GU master's cultivation process is just so cruel. I had just better take care of those high grade talent students. Chapter 23. Raising a GU is like raising a mistress. The sun had already set. The sunset glow was still burning in the sky. The mountains far away in the distance were covered in a thick layer of gray ash, gradually turning to black. In the academy, a day's class was over. The students walked out from the academy in groups of 2s and 3s. I'm really happy today, I learned quite a few things. Especially how I got to learn how to use the moonlight GU. The way the moonblade flies in the air looks so cool. It's too bad that my talent isn't enough, so in the future I can only be a logistics GU master, I won't be able to go onto the battlefield. The young teenagers happily chatted away. A few of them called their friends over. Let's go and eat, we can drink some rice wine while we're at it, what do you think? Sure, that's not a bad suggestion. You guys go on first, I need to go to the store beside the academy's GU room and buy a grass puppet. It will be easy to practice at home with it. Fang Yuan went to the GU room alone. The academy's GU room kept quite a few rank 1 GU worms. There were many types and variations, and Fang Yuan's moonlight GU was taken freely from inside. Once in a while the students would have a free chance to pick a GU worm. If one wanted to get extra GU, they would need to pay up. In this short time Fang Yuan had no wish to refine any other GU. He walked to the building beside the GU room, it was a small store. In the store there were 7 students, each of them negotiating over the counter with the store owner for buying grass puppets. It's you, Junior. The rank 1 GU master responsible for the store was in his 20s. When he saw Fang Yuan, he automatically greeted him while bargaining with his customers. Fang Yuan was taken by surprise, finding out that this GU master was Zhang Ya. It was the young GU master that had taught the hunters a lesson in the inn. Ah, it's you, senior. Fang Yuan nodded his head, his face expressionless. Zhang Ya took out a grass puppet from the counter behind him, passing it to the student who purchased it. At the same time he threw Fang Yuan a friendly smile and asked, "Did junior brother come here to buy a grass puppet as well? If you want me to leave one for you, you just need 3 pieces of primeval stones. These things sell like hotcakes, right now there's only 7 left, if you wait any longer there won't be any stock left." Zhang Ya's attitude towards mortals was arrogant, but towards people like Fang Yuan, he was very kind and sincere. Fang Yuan shook his head, laughing secretly as he thought, this Zhang Ya really did know how to do business. The grass puppets were made with the scarecrow GU. Even after including the primeval essence that was put in, the final cost should not be more than 1.5 primeval stones. Senior, this isn't fair. It should be first come first serve, why leave any for him? Yeah, we all came early. If you want to do business you should know the rules. 3 pieces will be 3 pieces, here's the primeval stones, give me a grass puppet. The youngsters in the store were all worried when they heard that the store only had 7 puppets left. They stopped trying to negotiate, and took out their stones to buy it. Very quickly, 7 satisfied teenagers walked out. Does my junior want to buy a grass puppet? Zhang Ya laughed as he asked, it seems like they were sold out, but actually there's still the 8th puppet stowed away below the chest. If Junior doesn't buy it now, you will miss the opportunity. Fang Yuan had no interest towards the grass puppet. He shook his head and pulled out a piece of primeval stone, putting it on the counter. I want to buy 10 moon orchid petals. Zhang Ya was stunned. He looked Fang Yuan deep in the eye, taking away the primeval stone and pulling open the counter drawer. Then he took out a paper bag, saying, 10 pieces of moon orchid flower petals, not 1 less. Please make sure. Fang Yuan checked the goods on the spot and found no mistake with it. Finally he left the small shop. GU have to be fed. A GU master refines GU, uses GU, and at the same time needs to raise GU. Refining a GU is difficult, there is the risk of counterattack. Using a GU is not easy, one needs a lot of practice. The knowledge of raising a GU is even more extensive and profound, because there are all kinds of GU worms and their food are exceedingly strange. Some need to swallow soil, some need starlight, some require tears and some feed on the clouds and air from the 9 skies. Just by taking Fang Yuan's current 3 GU for example, the moonlight GU requires moon orchid petals, 2 meals a day. In the morning and night 1 meal, every meal 2 pieces of flower petals. Meanwhile for the liquor worm, it needs to drink wine. A jar of green bamboo wine could support it for 4 days. As for the spring-autumn cicada, it is even more peculiar as it drinks straight from the river of time, maintaining its vitality. The river of time supports the flow of this world. It is not far away in the sky but very near at hand, flowing by every person's side. Every move made by every living creature requires the push of time. Time is like flowing water, hurriedly gliding forward. The river of time is invisible and colorless, while in reality all living creatures are actually surviving and living in the waters of the river of time. After buying the bag of moon orchid petals, Fang Yuan went to the inn to buy green bamboo wine. The liquor worm could also drink some turbid wine or rice wine to live. However, with this kind of second-rate wine the amount it needed to drink would increase, and it would need many jars every day. After calculating, Fang Yuan decided it would be better to buy green bamboo wine straight away. Not only would it be more worth than buying second-grade wine, it would also not arouse suspicion. "Young sir, you've come." The workers in the inn had already known Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan passed him 3 pieces of primeval stones directly, saying with a familiar ease, "Give me a jar of green bamboo wine and make me a few good dishes. You don't need to give me the change, just put it here first. At the end of the month when it amounts up to 1 stone, you can subtract from my bill with it." Even though Fang Yuan no longer stayed at the inn right now ever since he moved to the academy dormitories, he would always have a meal here when he bought wine. "All right, young sir, please take a seat, the dishes will be sent over immediately." The worker echoed, leading Fang Yuan to his seat. He took the cloth on top of his shoulder and gently wiped the table before leaving. Indeed, as the worker said, the dishes were very quickly served. Fang Yuan ate and calculated at the same time in his mind, a piece of primeval stone can buy me 10 pieces of flower petals. The moonlight GU consumed 4 pieces every day. A jar of green bamboo wine costs 2 pieces of stones, and it can support the liquor worm for 4 days. In other words, just to raise and feed the 2 of these GU, I would need to spend nearly 1 stone every day. It does not seem like much, but in reality this was very costly. The monthly living expenses for a mortal family of 3 only used up 1 piece of primeval stone. From the starting of refining the GU until today, 16 days had already passed. Just to raise the GU alone Fang Yuan had already spent 14.5 primeval stones. I have acquired the flower wine treasure, taken away Fang Zheng's bag of primeval stones and also got the first place reward. My primeval stone assets once reached up to 44 pieces and a half. However, in the early days of refining the GU I wasted 6 pieces and a half, then I used 14 pieces and a half on feeding these GU. My living expenses cost half a piece, and today I am probably left with 20 pieces. Fang Yuan took out his money pouch. He opened it and looked inside. The bag contained pieces of primeval stones inside. Each of these stones were grayish-white in color, their shapes ellipsoid and the volumes equal, the size similar to a duck egg. After counting he found that he really only had 20 pieces left. In other words, if this continued on then Fang Yuan would only be able to go on for half a month with the remaining stones he had left. He was not like his peers, they had relatives and friends to help them out, especially with the case of students like Jiu Mobei and Jiu Kai Cheng who were loaded with primeval stones. Fang Yuan could only think of a way himself. Uncle and aunt have already cut off my living expenses, but every weekend the clan academy would give out 3 pieces of primeval stones as subsidy to every student. Looks like I would need to show off in the Moonblade assessment in 3 days and take that 10 primeval stone prize. Fang Yuan chewed the food in his mouth while he pondered. His current age was just at the age where the body was growing. Without realizing it, all the rice and dishes had entered his stomach. Taking up the sealed green bamboo wine jar, Fang Yuan lifted his feet and started walking, leaving the inn. Young sir, young sir. The inn worker chased after him from behind and said, just to tell young sir something, but in less than a month the trading company will arrive to the village. By convention they would always buy the green bamboo wine in our shop. Young sir loves our green bamboo wine and always buys a few jars every week, so the innkeeper ordered me to tell young sir about this matter. The green bamboo wine in our store has limited supply, so after we sell it to the trading company I'm afraid we would be left with very little. Is that the case? When Fang Yuan heard the news, he frowned slightly. To know someone and tell apart the conversation, Fang Yuan had 500 years of experience. The shop worker and the young Jiu master Zhang Ya spoke with similar meaning, however Fang Yuan could naturally tell the difference with Zhang Ya's tricky words and the shop worker's truthful words. This matter was a little troublesome. Fang Yuan needed to feed the liquor worm and he needed a huge amount of green bamboo wine in the long run. If this inn ran out of stock then he would have to use huge amounts of second-rate wine to feed the liquor worm. It was not possible for him to drink several jars a day. After a while people would be suspicious. After thinking about it, Fang Yuan took out 10 pieces of primeval stones and said, then I'll buy another 5 jars. I will need you to carry them for me and follow me to put them in the academy dormitory. All right, young sir. The worker immediately accepted the primeval stones. The moon orchid flower petals could only last for 5 days without any special storage means, so Fang Yuan would only buy a bag every time. However, the green bamboo wine could be kept for a very long time, thus there was no problem with this. A few workers followed Fang Yuan into the academy dorms and placed the wine jars under his bed, and then they bid their leave. As he saw the money pouch that had suddenly flattened down in his hands, Fang Yuan heaved a sigh. Refining a GU is hard, but raising a GU is also not easy. This is also considering the fact that he had his 500 years of previous life experience, so he did not need to practice using his GU, meaning that the consumption rate of primeval essence would be lessened and thus saving him a huge sum of expenses. For those at his age around him, they would need to practice using the moonlight GU and would need to waste primeval essence. To increase proficiency, one would need to practice many times. When too much primeval essence is consumed, primeval stones would have to be used as a supplement since the recovery rate is too slow. To buy a grass puppet it costs 3 primeval stones as well. All this is money. Fortunately my spring-autumn cicada feeds on time and not anything else. Otherwise I would have long gone bankrupt, I would never be able to support it. Fang Yuan suddenly felt very lucky. The more high-end the GU is, the greater the food consumption needed or the more precious and rare the food required would be, thus the more difficult it would be to keep. A normal level rank 2 GU worm would cost up to around 1 to 2 pieces of primeval stones a day. It is good enough if the food is purchasable. There were some GU that required food that was relatively difficult to find, some of it did not even circulate in the market. Just like the spring-autumn cicada's food being time itself, this was actually more precious. After all there was a saying, an inch of gold cannot buy an inch of time. No matter how much money you have, can you buy time? You can't. In theory a GU master can refine an unlimited amount of GU. As long as you can refine it, whether 10, 100 or 1,000 worms is possible. You can refine as many GU as you wish to. But in reality a GU master normally only had 4 to 5 GU. Why? The biggest reason is because it is hard to afford. The higher the grade of the worm, the more expensive it would cost to feed and raise. It often gave a GU master too many difficulties to cope with, making them have unceasing headaches over it. Another reason was, unable to use. To use the moonlight GU to throw out a single moonblade attack, one would need to use up 10% of primeval essence. AC grade talent GU master could run out of primeval essence in their apertures after launching 3 to 4 attacks. To raise so many GU, wouldn't it be a waste if one couldn't use them anyway? Thus in the GU master's cultivation there was a saying going around, raising a GU is like raising a mistress. To keep a mistress you would need to buy food, clothes, a house etc. It is very expensive and the more you have the more costly it is, a normal man cannot afford it. Even if you keep so many, a man's energy is limited, he cannot use them all. Would you raise them just to look at them? When the rank of the GU master increases, so does the food standard of the GU worm. Thus please refrain from seeing how a GU master has no limit to the number of refining GU, in general a GU master only keeps around 4 to 5 GU of his level. If the number of GU was raised higher, the GU master would go bankrupt. Chapter 24 Close Combat GU Master. 3 days later. Lowering your body to dodge, that is the usual technique of restraining against a flying fist. When your enemy comes and attacks you, quickly squat down and at the same time do a counterattack, striking his crotch and abdomen. Do not be afraid of a swinging fist. Usually those who come up and start swinging their fists at the first moment are people who have no brains and are impulsive and rash. On the martial arts field, the Academy's martial arts one instructor spoke while he performed actions to demonstrate. A wooden puppet's right first swept over, and the martial arts instructor quickly squatted down, dodging the incoming attack. Then he threw a punch at the puppet's abdomen, knocking it down with a few punches. The students were looking at the demonstration in a circle, but most of them were lacking in spirit, showing very little interest. The Academy taught a variety of courses, and this lesson was the one that taught foundation of martial arts. Using fists and legs to exert oneself was too inferior to the handsome and cool attack style of the Moonblade, making almost all the students absent-minded. The next class will be the Moonlight Goose Usage Assessment. How have you been practicing so far lately? I'm still doing good. I can do 3 Moonblades, but only a few of them actually hit. Usually I get 2 blades on the grass puppet. That's the same like me. I specially bought a grass puppet just to practice for this in these few days. The young teens whispered to one another, their minds long gone from the lesson. They were all worried about the assessment in the next class. Just for this assessment, they had practiced hard for a long time after class, and now they were flexing their hands and feet, looking forward to the assessment. The sounds of the students' discussion had reached the instructor's ear, and the martial arts coach jerked his gaze back at them, shouting, "No talking aloud in class, all of you keep your mouths shut and watch closely." He was a rank 2 GU master, his body rather muscular. His upper body was naked and robust, the bronzed skin littered with countless scars on it. With a loud shout he showed a threatening manner, pressing down on all the students in the field. Silence fell in the martial arts field. The foundation of martial arts is the most important among important things. Especially in the early stages of a GU master's cultivation, it is more important than anything else. All of you better focus your attention on me. After he finished scolding, the martial arts instructor called out another wooden puppet. This light yellow wooden puppet was 2 meters tall, its huge wooden feet making sharp sounds as it stepped on the blue stone floor tiles. The wooden puppet stretched open its arms and rushed clumsily towards the coach. The instructor dodged its attack, then fiercely hugged its waist and used his strength to push it forward down, causing the huge and tall wooden puppet to fall to the ground. Then the instructor rode on the puppet's waist and swung his fist quickly at the puppet's head. The wooden puppet resisted for a moment, then its head was smashed broken by the instructor's raining blows. It was paralyzed on the ground, lying motionless. The martial arts instructor stood up, his breathing calm and long as always. He explained to the students, when facing a huge and tall enemy in close combat, do not be afraid. Ruining the opponent's center of gravity is a type of sensible tactic to pin down your enemy. Just like how I did it earlier, you must hug the opponent's waist, control his hips and then push forward with your strength. After that you take the opportunity and get on his body and fiercely punch at your enemy. Those with no defensive capabilities will instantly collapse. The students nodded repeatedly, but most of their eyes showed disapproval. The coach saw all of this and laughed bitterly in his heart. Every batch was like this. The attitudes of these youngsters were naturally easily attracted by gorgeous things. Without personal understanding and experience, it was hard for them to understand the importance of having a martial arts foundation. In truth, especially for a GU master in his early stage, while the basic martial arts did not look promising, it was actually more important than the blade attack. Quote. Remember, in close combat, your sight must not always stare at the enemy's eye. It should focus on the enemy's shoulder. No matter punching or kicking, the enemy's shoulder will always move first. In close combat your speed is very important. The speed I am talking about in this context is not the speed of your fists, but the speed of the movement of your legs. Quote. Distance is the best defense. Keep your legs elastic, then you will be able to easily burst out your strength. When striking with your fists, maintain a triangle support. Otherwise you will lose your footing. The enemy has not fallen, yet instead you fell first. The instructor patiently explained while he demonstrated. These were all his valuable experiences that he got from sacrificing blood and tears, experience accumulated from long battles. Unfortunately the students were unaware of this. They gradually started to whisper again, the focus of the discussion still on the next lesson's Moonblade assessment. This martial arts instructor is very pragmatic, but his teaching style is wrong. Fang Yuan watched quietly among the crowd, nodding and shaking his head at times. The instructor had no discipline in his teaching, he taught completely by interest, and just taught whatever he thought of. Therefore the things he taught came out in a mess and there was a lot of complicated info. In the beginning many students listened seriously, but gradually they lost interest and diverted their attention to other aspects. Only Fang Yuan listened meticulously all the way, while others were learning, he was revising. His combat experience was richer than the instructor, but listening to others narrating was also a way of verification and cultivation. A GU master's method of fighting is usually divided between melee and ranged. The Moonblade attack is a type of ranged attack, but when strictly speaking, it is considered medium range due to its effective distance only being 10 meters. When it came to close combat GU masters, the martial arts instructor was the best example. Melee battle GU masters would usually choose GU that amplified their own body strengths and cultivate. These GU would give them superhuman strength, agility, responsiveness, endurance, etc. Just like this martial arts instructor, his whole body was covered in bronze skin. This was of course not his own skin color, but it was a type of copper skin GU's effect. The copper skin GU would increase the GU master's skin toughness and defense by a lot, letting the GU master be able to endure more damage. A single Moonblade would consume 10% of primeval essence. How many times can a GU master throw a Moonblade during battle? The number is few, especially for beginners who have difficulty forming effective blows. It can only be used as a type of trump card. The terrorizing factor is greater than its lethality. To a rank 1 GU master, the truly useful skill would be martial arts kung fu. This is because the martial art offense is more durable and reliable. It's a pity that this fact is something that they will not understand unless they face it with their own experience. Fang Yuan lightly glanced around at his peers, a faint sneer somehow forming on his lips. The basic martial arts class was finally over. After a short rest, the students' eyes were filled with anticipation. The academy elder was late. He waved his big hand, pointing at the row of grass puppets in front of the bamboo wall. He went straight to the subject and said, "All right, today is the day to check the results. I want 5 people in a group coming up in proper sequence, using the Moonblade to attack 3 times." Swoosh! The first group of students went up, and the Moonblade danced in the air. After 3 rounds, only 9 Moonblades hit on the grass puppets. The academy elder shook his head a little, feeling slightly displeased. This hit rate was too low, the key being that among these 5 only 2 managed to successfully throw out 2 Moonblades. You all better practice properly after this, especially you, and you. The elder reprimanded in a short sentence, then he waved his big hand and said, "Next group." The 2 that were reprimanded dropped their heads and left the field in dismay. One of them was a girl, her eyes a little red and her heart grieving. She was only AC grade talent, yet she could not bear to use primeval stones to quickly recover her primeval essence. Thus in these 3 days she practiced very little, resulting in her unskilled throwing of the Moonblade. A GU master needed money to refine GU, raise GU, even practicing to use GU needed cash. But where was she able to get so much money? Even though her 2 parents were supporting her from behind, but every family had their own problems. To be short of funds was often the dilemma that a GU master faced. Anyway, I don't have the slightest chance of getting number 1. I might as well give up and save on primeval stones, that is better for me. As she thought of this, her heart became calm once more. There were actually quite a number of people who thought the same way as this young girl. Because of the lack of practice, many of the students performed poorly. The academy elder's brow deepened more and more. Fang Yuan watched, secretly shaking his head. These people are really pitiful and sad. Just for a small amount of primeval stones, they gave up their own chance to make progress. Primeval stones are meant to be used. If you want to become a miser and accumulate primeval stones, then what did you become a GU master for? In other words, those who are short-sighted would often haggle over every penny and chase after less important things. As for those with lofty aspirations, they usually showed a tolerant and generous attitude, and had the strength to give up and let go of things. It's finally my turn. At this moment, Gu Mo Bei's horse face lit up in a confident smile all over, and he walked up to the field. His stature was stout and gave out a fierce and strong aura. After standing still he raised his hand and threw 3 Moonblades, all 3 of them hit. Among the blades, 2 of them hit on the puppet's chest, while the other blade hit the puppet's left arm, shaving away a few green grass. This result naturally caused the young teens to burst with admiration. Well done. The elder's brow slightly smoothed out. The next group came up, Gu Kai Cheng standing among them. He had a small and short body, his face full of pockmarks, his expression bringing a slight nervousness. He sent out 3 Moonblades continuously and all 3 hit on the puppet's chest, cutting out 3 intertwined scars. The scars went from deep to shallow and restored back to its original appearance after a few breaths, due to the puppet's self-healing ability. However, this outcome was already tied to Gu Mo Bei's result, and also received the elder's praise. Kai Cheng held his head high as he walked out of the field, looking at Mo Bei defiantly in the eye on the way. HMPH. Below the field, Gu Mo Bei gave a cold snort, but he did not return Kai Cheng's glare. Instead, he continued looking at Gu Fang Zheng, who had not gone up yet. His heart clearly knew that the real threats were only Gu Kai Cheng and Gu Fang Zheng. The previous was the same like him, a B-grade talent while also having the constant supply of primeval stones. The latter was an A-grade talent, while Fang Zheng did not have as many primeval stones as them, but just by relying on his own natural recovery speed thanks to his grade talent, he would also be able to practice a lot in a short amount of time. Right now Gu Kai Cheng's results have appeared, showing a tie to Mo Bei, and only Gu Fang Zheng was left. In the last few groups, Gu Fang Zheng finally came up to the stage. Chapter 25 The Light of Spring is enchanting. Is he Fang Yuan or Fang Zheng? Some of the students were muttering. There were still people who could not differentiate between Fang Yuan and Fang Zheng, the two twin brothers. It's Fang Zheng. Fang Yuan is always wearing a cold expression, he would never appear tense, someone answered. Oh, then there will be a spectacle. Fang Zheng is the only A-grade talent from our village in 3 years, after all. The crowd casted their eyes over to the field. Fang Zheng could feel the pressure among the gazes shot at him, and this made him feel even more nervous. Standing on the stage, his fingers were trembling slightly. He threw out his first moonblade, originally intending to aim at the grass puppet's chest. But because he was tense, he missed. In the end the moonblade imprinted onto the grass puppet's neck area. The young teens instantly let out a sound of slight surprise. They thought that Fang Zheng deliberately did it. Instead of aiming for the easiest spot, which was the chest of the puppet, he went for the neck instead. This was a showcase of huge self-confidence towards his own attacking skill. They could not help but look forward to Fang Zheng's next move. Gu Mo Bei and Gu Kai Cheng however had their complexions cast down. Only those among the field who could see Fang Zheng's error were the Academy Elder and Fang Yuan. How dangerous! Looking at the moonblade, Fang Zheng exclaimed in his heart while secretly feeling lucky. He took in a few deep breaths, trying his best to calm down. Then he threw out 2 blades. This time he did not make any mistakes, and the 2 blades hit accurately on the grass puppet's chest. This result made the Academy Elder nod his head, and Mo Bei and Kai Cheng calmed down as well. Fang Zheng's result was different from theirs, so it would all come down to how the Academy Elder decided to grade them. The other students let out sounds of sighing. Fang Zheng's later performance was not interesting, making them feel slightly disappointed. The next few groups were not interesting either. No one was able to perform better than Mo Bei, Kai Cheng and Fang Zheng. The youngsters started to whisper around. At this rate, the top scorer in today's assessment should be among the 3 of them. All 3 of them managed to hit the grass puppet. I wonder who the Academy Elder will deem better. Hold on, it's the last group. Fang Yuan's going up. Oh, that's C-grade talent, cold genius. Heh. Right when it was the last group, Fang Yuan finally went upstage. It's that Fang Yuan. Gu Mo Bei lifted his head and looked at Fang Yuan for a moment, then he lowered his eyes uncaringly. Last time you got really lucky, choosing a weak-willed moonlight Gu by accident and getting number 1. Let's see how you perform this time. Gu Kai Cheng hugged his arms, waiting to see Fang Yuan make a fool of himself. Big brother, this time will not be like the last. I have practiced so hard for so long, I can definitely surpass you. Among the crowd, Gu Fang Zheng pursed his lips, subconsciously clenching his fists tightly. Previously in the assessment to refine the vital Gu, he is someone with an A-grade talent actually got 2nd position. Naturally he was not happy with this. Especially after he understood that Fang Yuan was able to win and get number 1 because of sheer luck, this made him even more unsatisfied. To Gu Fang Zheng, being victorious over his own older brother Fang Yuan had a special and great significance. Many gazes were gathered on Fang Yuan, and the Academy Elder's sight was fixed on him as well. Fang Yuan made no emotion, his expression was cold and detached. He stood still, primeval essence pouring into the moonlight Gu in the heart of his palm. With a cut in the air, he struck out the first moonblade. This moonblade flew very high. It not only went over the grass puppet's head, but flew over the bamboo wall as well. It went on for almost 15 meters before the light turned dim and vanished into thin air. PFF'd, someone couldn't help but laugh out. This is way too outrageous, isn't it? Someone sneered. He's indeed a genius. No wonder he managed to get number 1 in refining the GU. Another spoke sarcastically. In the earlier years when Fang Yuan created poetry and showed early wisdom, it had already caused discontented emotions among these people. Later on when he relied on luck, and got number 1 in refining his vital GU, this made them feel a layer of jealousy among their dissatisfaction. Many of them were waiting to see a good show. They waited to see the genius, Fang Yuan reveal an embarrassing action, and this moonblade of his did not let them down. Waves of laughter swept across the crowd. The academy elder shook his head slightly, secretly laughing at himself. Why did he have to be so concerned with Fang Yuan for no reason? He was just a C grade and merely a boy who got number 1 in refining GU because of sheer luck. In his heart he had already made up his mind. Although Mo Bei, Kai Cheng and Fang Zheng's results were the same, he would still pick Fang Zheng as number 1. The war between Guu Mo Bei and Guu Kai Cheng was the epitome of the political struggle between the two most powerful elders in the clan. The academy elder had always remained in the center and had no intention to enter the middle of the political vortex. The academy elder was more inclined towards the clan head Guu Bo, and Fang Zheng was a set with the clan leader. Add in the fact that he had a great talent, choosing him as number 1 would mean showing biased care for him, and it was something the clan's upper authorities could accept. A warm spring breeze blew over, the smell of flowers drifting into the training grounds. The sunlight shone down on Fang Yuan's body, sending a lonely black shadow onto the ground. His expression was still cold as he quietly gazed at the grass puppet 10 meters away. The moonblade in his palm was giving out a faint blue light. Of course, he had deliberately thrown the first moonblade off course. Right now he only had 2 chances left to act. Taking into account the academy elder's position, to acquire number 1 he would have to create an outcome that exceeded everyone's expectations in the next 2 attacks. With only 2 chances left to attack, it's impossible. Big brother, I have finally won over you. Guu Fang Zheng's eyes did not flicker as he stared at Fang Yuan. From young till old, the life shadow that his older brother had brought onto him finally faded away slowly at this moment. Fang Zheng could feel victory so nearby. His 2 fists were subconsciously clenched tight, his entire body so full of excitement that he trembled slightly. Big brother, my victory this time is just a beginning. Next, I will keep on winning over you again and again until I banish away all the shadows in my heart. I will prove to the clan the excellence of an A-grade talent genius. Fang Zheng told himself in his heart. But just at this moment, Fang Yuan acted. His right palm was like a knife, splitting the void. With a sharp tearing sound, the watery blue light shrouded in his palm was thrown out. It flew in the air, turning into a curved blue moonblade, shooting towards the grass puppet. In just the next second Fang Yuan's right palm lit up again in a coat of blue light. He turned his palm and shot out the third moonblade. These 2 attacks connected smoothly like flowing water, it was a seamless combination. The 2 moonblades flew out in quick succession, the distance between the 2 blades less than half a meter apart in the air. Under the stunned gazes of the crowd, the 2 moonblades accurately hit onto the grass puppet's neck. This, Fang Zheng's pupils shrank, a bad feeling emerging from his heart. In the next moment, the students slowly opened their mouths wide as they wore astonished expressions. They saw that the grass puppet's head slowly tilted to one side, then it fell off the neck and dropped onto the ground. With a bounce, it rolled 2 to 3 meters away. Fang Yuan had beheaded the puppet. This outcome had gone beyond the expectations of everyone on field. Is this luck or skill? The academy elder frowned. This doubt hovered in the hearts of the rest of the students. For a time, the entire training ground lapsed into silence. How could this be? Fang Zheng murmured. He stared at Fang Yuan blankly, the surged emotions in his heart dropping instantly, falling deep into the lowest point. Fang Yuan narrowed his eyes, acting as if he was oblivious to the gazes that fell onto him from the crowd. Cluck, cluck, under the blue skies and white clouds, a group of peacock parrots suddenly flapped their wings and flew in midair. They dragged their magnificent, long and slender peacock tails, clucking in the air as they flew about playfully. Fang Yuan stood in the center of the training field, looking up. Under the bright sunlight, the multicolored feathers of the birds dazzled even greater and gorgeous. His expression was indifferent, as if the person who just cut off the grass puppet's head was not him. Ah, the light of spring is really enchanting. He sighed in his heart. Chapter 26 The Nature of All Organizations. As it neared nightfall, the sun on the edge of the horizon looked like blood. The afterglow rays poured into the school where around 50 students sat upright. On the stage above, the academy elder was reading out names one by one, distributing allowance to them. This was the academy's weekly subsidy where every 7 days allowance would be distributed. One could say it was financial aid for these young teens. After all, with their capabilities, to feed and raise their own GU was a lot of financial pressure. GUU Fang Yuan. The elder read aloud. Fang Yuan got up from the seat by the window at the last row. He walked up the stage, receiving 2 money bags. In one bag was 3 primeval stones, the clan's allowance. The other bag held the reward of 10 primeval stones. Work hard, the elder said. He gave Fang Yuan a deep look. Fang Yuan had continuously achieved number 1, and this had let those elders who were originally disappointed in him start paying slight attention. Fang Yuan nodded his head and took the purse into his arms, returning to his seat. Damn it, he actually got number 1 again. Guu Mobei fixed his gaze onto Fang Yuan firmly, his heart rather furious. Those 2 moonblades consecutively hit the neck of the puppet. Is this because of sheer luck or real skill? Guu Kai Cheng narrowed his eyes. Since the end of the assessment until now, this question had been hovering in his mind. It was not just him, many students unconsciously drifted their sights towards Fang Yuan. This question haunted them. Although they had lost, their hearts were unsatisfied and they wanted to question what actually had happened. When the day was about to end, the academy elder announced a matter. You all have been in the academy for an amount of time now, and you are familiar with how to use your vital GU as well. In the next few days I will teach you all how to warm and nourish your aperture, advancing a GU master's cultivation realm. The higher the realm of a GU master, the more concise your primeval essence becomes. A rank 1 GU master has green copper primeval essence, a rank 2 GU master has red iron primeval essence, and a rank 3 GU master possesses white silver primeval essence. A portion of red iron primeval essence is comparable to 10 portions of green copper primeval essence. Similarly, a portion of white silver primeval essence equals 10 portions of red iron primeval essence. You must all remember, the GU are just tools that we use. Cultivation is the foundation of us GU masters. The higher your rank, the stronger the GU you are able to use. In the next 3 months, whoever can take the lead and promote to rank 1 middle stage will receive a reward of 30 primeval stones. At the same time he will be able to choose the second GU first. After 3 months, we will elect a class monitor and 2 vice class monitors based on the results. The class monitor will enjoy a subsidy of 10 primeval stones while the vice class monitor will have an allowance of 5 pieces. Alright, that's all for today. You can all leave. The elder's words made the academy burst with noise. Time to elect the class monitor and vice class monitor. Someone clenched his fist in excitement. The class monitor receives 10 primeval stones every 7 days, and the vice class monitor gets 5 pieces. If I am able to be the first to reach rank 1 middle stage, I will definitely be able to become the class monitor. Another had lights in his eyes. The primeval stones are not the important focus. What matters here is the position of class monitor and vice class monitor. It represents glory and places one's identity over others. When normal students sees the class monitor they must all bow and greet him. Guu Mobei and Kai Cheng did not lack primeval stones, but they deemed the glory of the position very important. To become the class monitor, without mistake it is the first person who promotes to rank 1 middle stage first. That means when Big Brother see me in future, he would have to bow and automatically greet me. Hold up, where is Big Brother? Guu Fang Zheng subconsciously looked back, but Fang Yuan's seat was empty. The students walked out of the academy. Where's Guu Fang Yuan? Guu Mobei wanted to look for Fang Yuan and ask him face to face. However, Fang Yuan was 1 step ahead and had long left. HMPH, he sure ran away fast. Is he afraid? Looks like he got lucky again in today's test. Guu Kai Cheng sneered. Whatever, it's just 10 primeval stones. I don't need to care about this small matter. Right now what's important is to advance to middle stage and get that class monitor position. Guu Mobei narrowed his eyes, looking at his side where Guu Kai Cheng and Guu Fang Zheng were. These 2 figures were his real enemy. While Fang Yuan was just a small C-grade talent, he was not on par. In the first 2 times, Fang Yuan got lucky and got number 1. However, this time it is a cultivation test, and the focus is on the talent of cultivation. When the talent is higher by a grade, the advantage becomes much greater, Guu Kai Cheng thought, depressed in his heart. His real grade talent was only a C grade. It was only because of cheating that let him gain the illusion of having B grade. Just a mere class monitor and 2 vice class monitor positions got them itching their fists. How hot-blooded and naive they are at this age, Fang Yuan sneered as he leaned against the gateway of the academy. The so-called glory was just a valuable tool the upper levels used to motivate those below them. In the end, it was just a layer of illusionary glory, it was useless. His 500 years of experience had long allowed Fang Yuan to understand some of the secrets of life. Whether it comes to a clan, sect or demonic group, whether it is this world or earth, all organizations are like this. The high and low positions are established, making the law of promotion clear, letting those in the organization climb up non-stop from the bottom. Because chasing after profit is the nature of humans, and positions of authority often make people have superiority, creating the illusion that oneself is living a more valuable life than others. Power is like the carrot dangling in front of a donkey. The desires of humans are stimulated by it, and each of them secure their personal gains with someone with authority for it. After climbing up one level, there will be a higher level. While they are busy currying favor for personal gain, their hard work is squeezed out from them and their value is exploited by the upper position. In every organization, as long as there is a chain of command, it is to give serve to those at the upper ranks. The so-called class monitor and vice-class monitor position is like the smallest carrot, luring everyone else into the structure of the clan. And to stop those below from realizing the truth, those at the higher positions integrate shared values, clear-cutting the idea of glory, meritorious deeds, etc. The establishment of high and low positions are made along with unequal benefits. Sometimes the use of religion is done to dominate people's hearts. This is the real truth, yet it is a pity that too many people in the world do not understand. They foolishly work hard for others. And for every organization in the world, the most fundamental of its essence is just one thing, and that is, the redistribution of resources, where the higher the position the more resources they can enjoy. In his previous life Fang Yuan had founded the Bloodwing Demon sect in the Middle Kingdom, where he taught up to tens of thousands of people. He erected the positions of demon soldiers, demon generals, demon sages, etc. Each position gave their corresponding benefits, letting countless people flock over like ducks, letting Fang Yuan order them around. This kind of experience allowed Fang Yuan to understand clearly the way of thinking in this principle. Thus any organization is just a representation, while the real basis is just one word, resources. Without food resources, one will die of starvation. Without water resources, one will die of thirst. Without cultivation resources, one will become weak and sooner or later, be bullied to death. And for a GU master, primeval stones are the most important resource. Fang Yuan's two orbs were deep like an ancient pond, and as his mind reached this point the corners of his lips curled up slightly, creating the outline of a sneer. He had long left the academy, and right now he stood at the gate entrance of the school. He saw the first batch of students coming out, gradually walking closer towards him. It's Fang Yuan. What's he doing at the middle of the gate entrance? HMPH, every time I see his dead dysfunctional state, I feel so pissed off. Don't worry about him, he's probably waiting for someone. The young teens paid no attention to him. Just as they were about to walk over, Fang Yuan strode across and blocked them. I'm plundering. Everyone must surrender a piece of primeval stone before they can leave. Chapter 27 Outright Extortion. The young teens were instantly shocked and angry. What? I didn't hear wrongly, did I? Fang Yuan, your head must have overheated and gone confused. You would actually stand at the gates of the academy and blackmail us. Have you gone mad? Who gave you the guts to put your ideas on us? Scram, you're just a petty C grade, how dare you block my way? If you don't scram, I will send you flying with my erg. Fang Yuan suddenly lashed out. His right palm furiously cut forward. His movement was quick and precise, his slice of his palm hitting the left side of someone's neck. This unlucky teenager was totally not expecting Fang Yuan to suddenly attack him. While he was still cursing at Fang Yuan, he suddenly suffered a heavy blow. His two eyes instantly rolled up and he fainted on the spot. Fuck, you actually dared to strike. The crowd jumped, and the young teen subconsciously retreated backwards. Gu Beiju fainted, what do we do? Some of them were terrified and scared, shouting around in horror. What else can be done? There's so many of us, and Fang Yuan is alone. We should all rush at him together and beat him up. Some people were shouting, their rage erupting. That's right, he sure doesn't know his place. How he dares to provoke us by himself. He's definitely digging his own grave with his overambitiousness. Everyone get on him together. Yet before they could do anything, Fang Yuan had already struck. He strode a few steps forward, rushing into the group of teenagers. He slashed his palm and the edge of his hand cut onto a youth's neck. The young man rolled his eyes upward and fell. Ah! Another teen yelled loudly, swinging his fist at Fang Yuan, sweeping through the air. Fang Yuan lowered his body and dodged, then he lifted his leg and kicked the boy's crotch area. AOWWWWWW. The youngster's loud roar was originally sonorous and indignant, but after he took the blow his voice instantly rose higher and became sharp and shrill, filled with a kind of misery and pain. Thump! He covered his crotch with his 2 hands, his knees giving way as he dropped to the ground. He rolled around on the floor screaming loudly, the pain so great his entire body was covered in cold sweat. Fang Yuan swung his 2 fists around like a tiger that had entered a flock of sheep. He had 500 years of battle experience, and these youngsters were just a bunch of soft green kids. They had only just started cultivating not long ago. How could they possibly be his opponents? In the blink of an eye, Fang Yuan put down the entire group of young students. If they had not fainted, then they would be lying on the ground, the pain making them drained and their bodies hurting all over. What's going on here? Gu Mo Bei arrived and exclaimed. He saw that Fang Yuan stood at the entrance of the academy gates, and there were 5 to 6 students on the floor around him. This Fang Yuan, he wants to extort our primeval stones. One of them lying on the floor shouted angrily while clutching his belly. Wow, still full of energy huh? Fang Yuan's expression was flat as he kicked fiercely at the abdomen of the boy who just yelled. OWW! The youngster immediately cried out in pain, his body curling up like a shrimp. Fear emerged from his face, his tears streaming down as he dared not to speak again. As they saw this scene, the students that came over all felt Fang Yuan's fierce savageness and cruelty, their hearts throbbing. Alright, all of you be good and hand out a piece of primeval stone. Then I'll let you go, or else, these people on the ground here will be your fate. Fang Yuan made a big step forward, his tone callous. In your mother's face, you petty little C grade would even dare to win me, a B grade. Gu Mo Bei flew into a rage, swinging his fists as he rushed toward Fang Yuan before they knew it. With a slight turn of his ankle, Fang Yuan swerved gently sideways and let Mo Bei's fist fly past. Then he stretched out his left hand, lifting the index and middle finger toward the center of Mo Bei's clavicle, accurately jabbing at the area below the throat. Mo Bei immediately blacked out, falling onto the ground with a thump, fainting on the spot. Hiss! As they saw what just happened, the young students that planned to rush forward quickly stopped, each of them releasing a mouthful of cold air. In the eyes of these youngsters, Fang Yuan's attacks were suddenly too profound to be understood. They did not pay attention to basic martial arts, but in reality it was vaguely mentioned during class. The human body had many vulnerable parts, and several parts that Fang Yuan had struck were one of those vulnerable places. When these parts were struck, it would easily make a person faint on the spot, and a heavy blow would induce a life-threatening crisis. However, Fang Yuan had proper restraint when he attacked. Those that he had tackled down were either knocked out or suffering in immense pain, losing the ability for combat in a short amount of time. There was no one who was really seriously injured. This was the terror of 500 years worth of combat experience. Are you going to give me your stones or not? Fang Yuan did a step forward, forcing the other youths. They looked at each other for a moment, then half of them gritted their teeth while the other half roared angrily, all of them swarming towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan dodged about while striking at the same time. His cultivation base was lowly, but his realm was still there, his heart was cool as ice, his movements quick and precise. Thump, thump, after a few breaths, bodies fell down onto the ground again. It's too vicious, too terrible, they're not going to die, are they? There were still a few young girls left behind. They did not rush forward. Their eyes were open wide, and after seeing what had happened so far their bodies trembled more and more. Fang Yuan swept his gaze to them, and their faces turned pale as they quickly waved their hands and retreated. No, don't come over. We'll surrender the stones. After Fang Yuan received a few pieces of primeval stones, he let them go. They stumbled out of the academy gateway, while in succession several students came over. To leave the academy, this gateway was the only route. With Fang Yuan blocking this path, he would be able to block out all the students. Damn, what's going on? The new wave of students stared in amazement. Isn't that Gu Mo Bei? Gu Kai Cheng stared at the unconscious Mo Bei on the floor, his eyes wide and his mouth agape. When Fang Yuan opened his mouth and spoke, the youngsters were instantly angered and they attacked him, then they fell. Sir Elder, we're just going to keep watching all of this and not stop them. What if someone loses their life, how are we going to salvage the matter? The guards were worried. Some of the guards were indignant, saying, this Fang Yuan has too much guts. He would actually dare to extort his classmates at the academy school gates under our eyelids. This is acting with utter disregard of the law and discipline. As long as Sir gives the command, we subordinates will take away this kid. The violent matter of Fang Yuan blocking the gateway and openly extorting his classmates had long attracted attention since the beginning. But mortal guards had no right to punish the students, so they could only go first to the academy elder and report. When the academy elder heard the news, he did not immediately command for them to stop it. Instead he went up the pavilion and observed from afar. Looks like this child has fighting talent. The longer the academy elder watched, the more interested he felt. Fang Yuan's use of the moonblade today had already caused some uncertainty in the elder. Right now he watched as Fang Yuan with his strength alone, making an enemy out of the entire batch of students, bearing a sort of unstoppable fighting style of graceful demeanor. With this the doubts in his heart were cleared. In this world, there were those who were particularly keen and sharp towards battles. These were hidden gifts. They were good at fighting, and they loved battles. In the battles they were often inspired, and always created surprising and even unbelievable accomplishments. Ah, he's a natural battle GU master. Pity, his talent is only C grade, in the end he just lacks one step of a grade. The academy elder heaved a sigh. Sir, are you not going to stop this farce? Letting him go on with this nonsense, I'm afraid the consequences wouldn't be too good. The guards beside him had worried expressions on their faces. Chapter 28 Capital Free Business. Why stop it? The academy elder lifted his eyebrows and laughed. He lifted a finger and pointed it at Fang Yuan, who was far away, and said, this young man has taken control of the entire situation, and his attacks are fully restrained. Look at the way he cuts at the neck. He only acts on the left or right side, but never cutting at the nape. This is because he knows that striking the neck sides can make a person faint on the spot. Meanwhile, attacking the area at the back of the head and neck could cause death, so he automatically abandoned that way of attacking. Look at all those youths on the ground, which one of them is actually heavily injured? None. Even if they were badly hurt, so what? Are you saying that our academy's treatment GU masters won't be able to cure this sort of traumatic wound? But Sir Elder, that child is just too arrogant. He blocked the entrance. This is obviously not acknowledging our existence as guards. Being ignored isn't the main problem though, the important matter is how the clan will think of our academy. To actually allow a small petty C-grade student make a fuss in the academy and not stop it. If word goes out, we're afraid this might affect your reputation, Sir Elder. The guard squinted as he said this. HMPH, in reality is that because you all were disregarded by the boy, so your own dignity feels challenged. The academy elder was not too happy. He sneered and shot a gaze as sharp as a sword edge at the guards. They all lowered their heads, all of them disagreeing. What's wrong with fighting? As long as lives are not lost, it will stir up the competitive side of the students and temper their will to fight. To stop this kind of fight is to stifle the students' fighting passion. Was there no fighting in the past batches? Every batch had their own battles, and it happened very often. The only difference was that it usually happened in the latter half of the year when the students had already mastered some means of fighting. With strength they itched to fight, and at the same time it is an aggressive age. Why didn't you stop those people back then? The academy elder questioned in a cold voice. Maybe it was because the fights in the previous years were all single battles, there were rarely huge-scale fighting like this one. But this Fang Yuan is really good at creating a disturbance. The chief of the guards replied. No, no, no. The academy elder shook his head. That was because you all did not dare to stop it. Because after half a year, a GU master will have the ability to fight beyond a mortal's strength, and with your petty mortal bodies, how are you supposed to stop it? Right now you all want to stop Fang Yuan, perhaps it is because he just started cultivating, so he doesn't have enough power. It's also because you feel that he ignored your existence and offended your dignity. But you must all remember, these students all bear the surname of GUU. They are my GUU clan's clan members, your masters. Even if they are still of young age, no matter how weak, they are still your masters. The elder's tone had turned sharply. Your surnames are not GUU, what is your worth? Because of your loyalty, you were all given the position of guards, rewarding you with some sweet benefits. But in reality, you are still slaves. Just slaves. A slave dare give preposterous opinions of their masters, caring about the matters of their masters. The elder's face was dark like water. This was not your subordinate's idea, not my meaning. I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare. The guards were ashen-faced as they kneeled down to the ground, spouting non-stop. The academy elder gave a cold snort and pointed at the chief guard who had just called Fang Yuan a person good at creating disturbances. You gave an outrageous comment on your master. You were relieved of your position. After a while, the elder said to the others, after half a month, there will be a re-examination to determine the new chief. The other guards immediately had eyes that shone, their hearts pumping with enthusiasm. The position of chief of the guard. Every month I'll be able to receive half a primeval stone more. To be able to become the chief is to become a man above men. Aside from the masters, I dare to see who else would show displeasure at me. If I became the chief, how cool that would be. Alright, what are you all pestling here for? Get downstairs and wait for the battle to end, then sweep the field. The elder roared. Yes, yes, yes. Your subordinate takes his leave. The guards left in reverence and awe as they went down. One of the guards on the stairs lost his footing and fell down. Immediately there was a series of sounds implicating a chain of people falling and knocking down. However, under the academy elder's power and influence, the guards reddened their faces and endured in suffering, not letting out a single noise. HMPH. Those minions are just like dogs. Every once in a while they'd get this itch to misbehave. You'd have to smack them so that they know fear and respect. Then just throw some small victories and bones to them, letting them fight amongst themselves like dogs, letting them compete amongst themselves to serve my clan with their life. To hold a stick in one hand and a carrot in another, this is the unique way of the upper echelons. As the academy elder heard the quiet movements below, he sneered in his heart and turned his head, looking through the window and at the school gates. A fresh group of 10 or so students were on the ground at the entrance. Fang Yuan stood proudly, and there were 3 young girls back to back, huddling at a side opposite him. You better not come over. If you come over, we'll shoot you with the moonblade. In their hands were a layer of blue radiance. It seemed like they were compelled to the point they would actually mobilize their primeval essence and use the moonlight GU. Fang Yuan's body was still that of a normal 15-year-old boy, and if they attacked him with the moonblade it would not do him any good. Yet he was not afraid. Instead he sneered at them and walked step by step towards the girls. You girls have pretty big guts, huh? Have you forgotten the rules of the school? Inside the academy fighting using GU is forbidden, or else the penalty will be expulsion. If you girls want to be expelled, then just do it. The young girls hesitated. Indeed there is such a rule. The blue light in their hands faded away. Fang Yuan's eyes flashed as he caught this opening and dashed forward, his palms waving in the air, cutting down 2 of them without a shadow of doubt. Being the last one, her morale dropped and her knees turned weak. She collapsed to the ground crying heavily, begging Fang Yuan, "Don't you come over, Fang Yuan, please let me go." Fang Yuan stared down at the young girl with a condescending look, his cold voice sounding in her ears. A piece of primeval stone. The girl's body fluttered and she quickly opened her money pouch, realization taking hold of her. She took out 3 to 4 pieces of primeval stones and held them in her palm, stretching out her hand to Fang Yuan. "Don't hit me, I'll give them all to you, I'll give all my stones to you." Fang Yuan was expressionless as he slowly reached out with his right hand. He lifted his forefinger and thumb, gently pinching at a piece of primeval stone from the girl's hand. The young maiden could not stop trembling. Fang Yuan's hand had a youth's pale and slender form, but in her eyes his hand was horrifying like a ferocious claw of terror. "I've said it earlier, I will only take 1 piece of primeval stone." Fang Yuan paused for a moment, then he said plainly, "You may leave." The girl stared at Fang Yuan for a good while, then she finally got up. But her limbs were still weak and she could not properly stand. Her heart was already full of fear towards Fang Yuan, and she was afraid to the point that she could not muster a single breath of energy. When the academy elder saw this, he could not help but shake his head. One of his reasons to remain an observer was to borrow the chance to see each of the students' respective fighting talents. This girl who collapsed on the ground was only a C-grade talent, but with this kind of mentality she could only become a logistics GU master. She would be able to be productive in the clan, but there was no expectation for her to be on the battlefield. As for this Fang Yuan, the academy elder rubbed his chin, his eyes squinting with a flash of light. He felt that Fang Yuan was very interesting. Not only did Fang Yuan possess fighting talent, he even had a sense of propriety. To just extort for a piece of primeval stone was not beyond the bounds in the elder's heart. But if Fang Yuan wanted to blackmail for 2 pieces, that would be too much and he would need to intervene. The academy's allowance was originally 3 pieces. To have a piece taken away would still be considered harmless. But if he extorted away 2 stones, then what is the point of giving out subsidy? He might as well just give everything to Fang Yuan. Very quickly the last group of students arrived. There were only 5 people, and among them was Fang Yuan's twin younger brother. "Big brother, how could you be like this? You are too bold, to actually beat up your classmates at the gates and take away their primeval stones." Gu Fang Zheng was wide-eyed as he looked at the scene. He could not believe what he was seeing before him, I advise you to quickly go to the Academy Elder and take the initiative to admit your mistake, or else with you making such a huge matter, it's not a joke, you might actually get expelled. Fang Yuan laughed and said, you're right. Fang Zheng heaved a relieved sigh. Seeing that his older brother hadn't gone insane and could still be persuaded, that was good. But very quickly he heard Fang Yuan say again, every one of you, a piece of primeval stone. What? Fang Zheng opened his mouth wide with surprise, even I need to pay up. My dearest little brother, of course you can choose not to. Fang Yuan's tone was very gentle. But you will end up just like them, he said and pointed at those fallen on the ground. Some of them had fainted, and some of them were moaning in pain. Even his own younger brother isn't spared. This Fang Yuan is crazy, he's too vicious. We cannot defeat him, a wise man does not fight when the odds are against him. We better hand it over and overcome the trouble. That's right, we'll just pass up the primeval stone first. It's just one piece anyway, when we go back and report to the teachers, he'll be getting it. With the lesson drawn from their classmates' mistakes, the remaining youngsters obediently accepted Fang Yuan's blackmail with gazes of defiance. Hold up, just as they were about to leave, Fang Yuan shouted at them to halt. Fang Yuan, are you actually going to go back on your word? The youths started to become nervous. Fang Yuan faced the teenagers on the ground, gently sighing. Do you guys really think that I would squat down and search through their bodies one by one? The youths stared blankly, then they were hit by realization one by one. Each of them turned red in the face and stood at the spot hesitatingly. Fang Yuan stared at them, narrowing his eyes. There was a flash of cold light in his gaze. Immediately the 5 youngsters felt their heart beating fast, their scalps going numb at the same time. All right, Fang Yuan, we understand your meaning. We'll just help you this once. Under Fang Yuan's despotic aura, they could only lower their heads and search through each of the young teens' money pouches on the ground, taking out a piece of primeval stone from each bag. Then they brought it together and passed it to Fang Yuan. The entire class had a total of 57 people. By extorting a piece of primeval stone from every single one of them, Fang Yuan held 56 pieces. He originally had 20 pieces, but he spent 10 to buy a few jars of green bamboo wine. Adding the number of primeval stones from his own allowance and reward, the total number of primeval stones he had in his possession amounted up to 79 pieces. This sort of capital-free business that consists of extortion and plundering is really the most profitable business. Fang Yuan pocketed his money pouch that had suddenly expanded greatly into his bosom and strutted away, leaving behind a floor full of teenagers, lying like corpses on the ground. And a few teenagers, Fang Zheng among them, blankly stared after Fang Yuan's gradually disappearing shadow. Get out there fast, all of you, faster. Arrange the little masters properly. The treatment GU master, where is he? Ask him to come over fast. The guards were yelling as they all rushed forward, falling over each other in their eagerness to present themselves. They willingly gave their all for the small position of being the chief guard. Chapter 29 Unscrupulous 1. Put all the wine jars under the bed. Fang Yuan pointed and directed 4 workers from the inn. In each man's hands were jars of green bamboo wine. Right after Fang Yuan successfully extorted his peers, he went to the inn and bought 20 jars in one go. Each jar cost 2 pieces of primeval stones, and Fang Yuan pumped in 40 primeval stones for the sake of the liquor worm. The money pouch that had bulged out not long ago inflated by half in an instant, leaving 39 pieces of primeval stones behind. However, it was worth the money. These wine would be able to support the liquor worm for a long time. All right, the workers immediately replied. They would not dare to show any hint of disrespect to a GU master. Add on to the fact that Fang Yuan had bought so much wine, he could be said as the inn's big customer. With just a casual word before the innkeeper, the workers were able to easily put down their current activities and workload. After the inn servants left, Fang Yuan closed the dormitory door and sat cross-legged on his bed. It was already nighttime, the stars and moon in the sky were bright, and the night breeze flowed with a hint of scented fragrance. There was no light in the room. Fang Yuan calmed his state of mind, letting his focus slip into the primeval sea. The waves of the primeval sea rose and fell, the seawater giving out green copper-colored light. Every drop of seawater was the green copper primeval essence that a rank 1 GU master specially had. The primeval sea took up 44% too of the entire aperture. This was Fang Yuan's C-grade talent's limitation. The 4 walls of the aperture were a thin layer of white light, supporting and encasing the aperture. In the sky above the primeval sea there was nothing. The spring-autumn cicada had already hidden itself away under Fang Yuan's command, restoring itself under a deep sleep. Floating on the primeval sea was a cute and chubby white liquor worm. It frisked about with its heart's content on the seawater, sometimes diving into the sea, other times shaking its head and tail, splashing and splattering water droplets around. Fang Yuan sent a thought through his mind, and the liquor worm immediately responded. It stopped playing and curled up into the shape of a rice dumpling, leisurely floating into the air. It rose up to the middle of the aperture and out of the green copper sea. Go! Fang Yuan mobilized a tenth of his primeval essence, transforming it into a narrow flow, thrusting it all into the liquor worm. The liquor worm had already been refined by him, so this time it did not resist. It took in the entire jet of primeval essence and absorbed everything into its body. Immediately the sea surface dropped by a small cut. The curled-up liquor worm turned the primeval essence into a driving force and began to radiate out white light. Inside the soft light, an enshrouding mist of wine fumes were gradually produced, finally converging into a pale white wine mist. The wine mist was marvelous. It did not drift apart, instead enveloping around the liquor worm. Rise! Fang Yuan gave a thought, transferring another 10% of his primeval essence. The green copper seawater dived into the wine mist. As the wine mist melted into the seawater, it gradually lessened, and eventually there was no trace of it left. As for that 10% of green copper primeval essence, it also lost its general volume and was left with 5%. However, this 5% of primeval essence was even more condensed than before. The original primeval essence was a jade green, giving out a copper luster. Right now, although this new primeval essence had the same copper luster, the green was a darker shade, it was pale green. Pale green colored primeval essence was the primeval essence that only a rank 1 middle stage GU master would have. The liquor worm's use was to condense the primeval essence and increase it by a small realm rank. A GU master had 9 great realms, from the bottom, rank 1, rank 2, all the way to rank 9. Every great realm was split into 4 smaller realms, which were initial stage, middle stage, upper stage and peak stage. Fang Yuan was only a rank 1 initial stage GU master right now, but with the liquor worm's help he had 5% of a rank 1 middle stage GU master's primeval essence. If I want to condense out 5% of middle stage primeval essence, I would need to use 20% of initial stage primeval essence. I want to convert all the 44% of my primeval C into middle stage primeval essence, so I'd need to use around 180% of initial stage primeval essence. To reach this target as soon as possible, I'd need to borrow the help of primeval stones. As he thought of this, Fang Yuan opened his eyes and took out a complete primeval stone the size of a duck egg from his bag. The primeval stone was a sort of ellipsoidal-shaped, translucent gray stone. As the natural essence inside it is consumed, its size would continue shrinking. His right hand slowly closed, the primeval stone tightly clenched in his palm. He absorbed the natural primeval essence inside the stone, continuously replenishing his own aperture. The level of the sea surface that had fallen in his aperture slowly began to rise. The primeval stone was meant to be used. Fang Yuan was not stingy by one bit, and he would not save it up. I do not have someone to back me up, and I do not have support from friends and family, thus I can only rely on extortion and plundering. Today was just the first time, but after this, every 7 days when the academy gives out the school allowance, I will continue blocking the academy gates. How could robbing and blackmailing once satisfy Fang Yuan's appetite? In a GU master's cultivation, the primeval stone was the most scarce thing. As for the consequences of his plundering actions, Fang Yuan was not the least worried. This world was not the same as Earth. On Earth, schools would always prohibit fights to mainly stabilize harmony. But in this world, fighting was the main theme. No matter a GU master or common mortal, they would fight for survival. Sometimes it would be a fight with a scary wild beast. Sometimes it would be a battle against the raging weather, and other times it could be a fight against other GU masters over resources. As a result, moderate fighting was instead encouraged and advocated by people. From young to old, from simple brawls to battles determining life and death, this was the portrayal of most of the human lives here. This surface of this world was boundless. Just the southern border alone that Fang Yuan stayed in now, it was bigger than 7 to 8 times the entire surface of Earth itself. The living environment here was hostile and cruel, so humans would often construct mountain villages in the form of clans, holing up together. Every now and then there would be waves of beasts, or perhaps extremely bad weather assaulting a village. The GU master would become the core force of a village's protection, and every year the situation of attrition would become more serious. Surviving requires men with strong fighting will. A clan needs battle GU masters, there is never too much. Moreover, Fang Yuan's attacks were within the proper limit. He never attacked the lower jaw, as this would easily cause the skull to fracture and cause the loss of a human life. He also never struck the back of the head. When fighting he did not use his fists or elbow, or even jabbing with his fingers, but he used his palm. The number of kicks he used could also be numbered. The students that fell were not heavily injured, at most they were lightly wounded. Fang Yuan was not bloodthirsty, he just treated killing as a type of means. Every time he acted, he would have a clear goal. Whatever the type of method, whichever would let him reach his goal the fastest, he would use it. In other words, he was unscrupulous in doing things. The clouds floated over, covering the moonlight. A shadow enveloped over the Guu village. The watchman banged on his clappers, prompting people to know that it was already deep in the night. Be careful of fires, be on guard of beast assaults, as well as the possibility of foreign Guu masters sneaking into the village. There were still a lot of lights in the village. In the Kai family branch home, Guu Kai Lian stayed in his study, the lights radiantly bright. This high-authority old man spoke with a gentle tone, expressing sympathy as he asked his own grandson Guu Kai Chang, "I heard you were beaten up by that Fang Yuan today." Guu Kai Chang had a black right eye, and he angrily said, "Yes, Grandpa. That Fang Yuan was just a petty C grade, yet he dared to act so arrogant. He blocked us all at the entrance, not caring about the friendly sentiments of his classmates, and he robbed us of our primeval stones. What's more, the academy just opened one eye and closed one eye over the incident. It was only when Fang Yuan strode away that the guards hurried over. Grandpa, this time you have to help me expel this angry resentment of mine." Instead Guu Kai Lian shook his head. "This is between you and your juniors. You were blackmailed to lose a piece of primeval stone, and you did not suffer heavy injuries. Grandpa cannot act without any justifiable excuse. Even if you were heavily wounded, I will not stand up for you, do you understand why?" Guu Kai Chang was stunned. He struggled to think, and after a long while he hesitatingly said, "Grandpa, I think I understand your meaning. You are hoping that I will rely on my own strength to find my way, right?" "You only understood one aspect." Guu Kai Lian nodded his head and added, "You must remember, you are not just an individual representative, but you are the image on behalf of our Kai family branch. For many years we have confronted the Mo family branch, and your every move will represent the hope of the future of the Kai family branch. Grandpa may help you in the shadows, but you must stand up and erect a self-reliant and strong image. Otherwise the elders who are supporting our family will not see the hope for our future, and they will abandon the Kai family." As he said this, Guu Kai Lian heaved a sigh. "This is also why Grandpa helped you to cheat and let you impersonate a B-grade talent. Our Kai family needs a strong successor to hold on to those who are supporting us." Guu Kai Chang was then enlightened. "Grandpa, I understand now." Guu Kai Lian shook his head. "Just understanding won't do any good. You must work hard. Fang Yuan is just small trouble. Next up you must study hard and train diligently on your basic martial arts and get your dignity back. At the same time do not forget to work hard on cultivating, promoting to middle stage as soon as possible. The best you can do is to win the position of class monitor, this will be great honor and a kind of help to our Kai family." "All right, Grandpa," Guu Kai Chang replied loudly. "Heh, this spirit is how the heir to our Kai branch should be like. Grandson, you must work hard, I will do my best to help you." Chapter 30 Fang Yuan, you're robbing again. Almost at the same moment, in another place. Honorary father and mother, that was pretty much how things went. Fang Zheng stood straight, his tone respectful and cautious. In the hall, Fang Yuan's uncle Guu Dong too as well as his aunt sat in their wide-back huge chairs frowning. Aunt gnawed her teeth. While feeling injustice for Fang Zheng and at the same time gloating over the matter, she said, "Fang Yuan, that bastard son, him extorting others is one thing, but to think he would not even spare his own younger brother. How heartless and unfeeling. However, this time with such a huge crime, I expect he will be expelled from the academy soon after this." "That's enough, you should talk less." Uncle heaved in a deep sigh and told Fang Zheng, "You only lost a piece of primeval stone, don't worry. Go to the treasury and pick up a stone, there is no business for you here now. You must go and work hard in cultivating. With your great talent, becoming the first middle stage GU master is a huge possibility. Do not waste the talent that heaven blessed you with, for your mother and I look forward to seeing you become number one." "Yes, father and mother." Your son takes his leave. Fang Zheng left with a heart full of trepidation. He secretly thought, Big Brother robbed all the students when he blocked the academy gates today. He created such a terrible aftermath, I'm afraid he might really be expelled. If that happens, should I plead on his case for him? Two voices appeared in his head. A voice said, "No need to plead for him, he even robbed your primeval stone away although you were his own young brother. Even if he was expelled, that was his own fault. If heaven commits a sin, it can be forgiven, but if one commits a sin himself, he deserves to die." Another voice said, "But he is your very own older brother, he shares a similar face, his blood thicker than water. All right, even if you do not acknowledge him, you still must plead his case. If you do not do so, how will the outsiders look at you? I'm afraid they might think of you as a heartless and ungrateful person." Seeing Fang Zheng leave the hall, Aunt could not help but exclaim happily, "Husband, we cut off Fang Yuan's living expenses. This little bastard finally couldn't stand it and went off committing a huge error. To actually dare to block the academy gates and fight in public, not to mention extortion, this is the equivalent of provoking the academy elder. I dare say the time for him getting expelled is very near." However, Uncle shook his head. "You think too simply of things. Fang Yuan will not be expelled, in fact there may not be any punishment." "Why?" Aunt was puzzled. Uncle snorted. "Brawls and fights are encouraged as long as there are no heavy consequences. Did any students die in this fight?" "No." Aunt refused to comply. "Husband, how would you know there weren't any casualties? There are always accidents happening from fighting." Uncle closed his eyes, leaning against the back of his chair. "Woman, you are really naive. Do you really think the academy elder is just for show? When did the guards start acting? They came out at the last moment, this means that the entire scene was under control. If someone was heavily injured, they would have rushed over a long time ago, not at the last moments. You are not a GU master, so you won't understand. The academy does not forbid brawls among the students, but in fact they maintain an encouraging attitude towards it. The more brawls there are, the more helpful it would be for battles. Some students can even create strong bonds through fighting. The elders will not pursue this. It is already a routine. If anyone wants to take action on behalf of their offspring, it would break the rules." Aunt was dumbfounded as she heard this, and she replied in an unsatisfied manner, "Then nothing's going to happen to Fang Yuan who robbed away such a huge amount of primeval stones. He's just going to be let go like that. With such a big number of primeval stones, it will bring a lot of help to his cultivation." Uncle opened his eyes, his face cloudy. "What else can we do? Are you expecting me to go over by myself and snatch away all his primeval stones? However, this matter is not something that we cannot exploit. For Fang Yuan to rob and extort even his own brother Fang Zheng, this is the key to his fall. Fang Zheng is an A-grade talent, he will definitely be stronger than Fang Yuan one day. We will use this matter to divide and sow discord in Fang Zheng. We'll lead Fang Zheng away from Fang Yuan for our own use." And with that, 3 days passed. The disturbance that Fang Yuan caused from his robbery and extortion did not spread nor grow bigger, but instead it gradually died down. No elders broke the rules and came to find trouble for Fang Yuan, and the academy elder naturally closed one eye and opened one eye, acting like nothing happened. Although in this period of time, there were 2 to 3 youngsters who refused to accept the truth of having their primeval stones taken, and they challenged Fang Yuan. But after Fang Yuan knocked them down easily, everyone became aware that if they did not train hard in martial arts, they would never beat Fang Yuan. Among these teenagers, a burst of mass fervor towards training hard in martial arts erupted. The martial arts instructor was overjoyed, he had never seen a batch of students so enthusiastic and dedicated towards martial arts. Before this, when he was teaching, the students were all lacking in interest, yawning all day. But right now they would constantly seek advice with eyes brimming with radiating vigor. The academy elder specially came over to inquire about his situation. The martial arts instructor had an excited tone as he reported, "The students have been showing unexpected enthusiasm, and this change is too great. Only one student among them called Fang Yuan remains as lazy as ever." The academy elder laughed and patted his shoulders. He said, "This student that you speak of is the cause of the other student's transformation." The martial arts instructor was puzzled. But of course the changes were more than this. After the incident, Fang Yuan had undoubtedly become the public enemy of the entire student batch. Everyone was hostile towards him and he was isolated. No longer did anyone speak to him, and no one greeted him. The youths exerted full force, training their basic techniques privately. With their parents' and elders' encouragement and inspirations, they had decided that they must reclaim their honor by their own hands. Under the calm surface, the undercurrent was surging. Another 4 days passed. The academy elder passed out the primeval stone allowance once more, and the time for Fang Yuan to act came again. "Fang Yuan, once wasn't enough for you, you still want to rob away our primeval stones again. The students were shocked and angry as Fang Yuan blocked them at the gates once more. Fang Yuan stood in the middle of the entrance, his hands behind his back, his expression cold and tone flat. A piece of primeval stone per person and you'll be spared of physical pain. Fang Yuan, your bullying is excessive. I want to challenge you. Gu Mo Bei roared angrily, coming out first. Oh, Fang Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly. Mo Bei raised his fists and rushed forward. After a few rounds, he fainted onto the ground. Mo Bei, you're too useless. Watch me. Gu Kai Cheng yelled loudly and dashed towards Fang Yuan. After a transition of attack and defense, he joined after Mo Bei's footsteps. Fang Yuan's battle experience was 10,000 times more than theirs, although he only started cultivating, every force inflicted was used properly. Meanwhile, this bunch of students had only started their journey. If they came at him together, they might still be able to bring him a little trouble. But with them coming up to challenge him one by one, it was more relaxing than the first time of extortion. After 15 minutes, Fang Yuan leisurely walked away with a bulging money bag, leaving behind a floor full of youths. Some of them were lying motionless, and some were holding their bellies or clutching their crotch as they moaned and howled. Brothers, time to come up and sweep the field fast. The guards shouted and all rushed over. Chapter 31 Fang Yuan. You're in huge trouble. I've trained hard in basic martial arts for 7 consecutive days, but to think I only managed to endure 2 strikes from Fang Yuan and lost consciousness afterwards. Shame, unforgivable shame, Gu Mo Bei exclaimed, full of anguish and regret. In the family garden, he faced the wooden puppet, unleashing punches and kicks that were resulting in resounding echoes. Suddenly, he heard a laughing voice. Little brother, do you have deep hatred for the puppet? Why the great resentment? Upon hearing this familiar voice, Gu Mo Bei relaxed and stopped his attacks. He turned his head. Sister, you're back. The family council sent me out for an investigation mission which lasted more than 10 days, Gu Mo Yan laughingly replied. She was Mo Bei's blood-related sister, a rank 2 middle-stage Gu master. But soon, her face turned grim, her eyes sharply gazing at Mo Bei. Brother, what's the matter with those bruises on your face? Who bullied you? Ah, it's nothing, I accidentally tripped and fell. A hint of panic flashed across Mo Bei's face as he came up with an excuse. He did not wish for his sister to know of such an embarrassing event. The truth of the Mo family's future heir and the family head, Gu Mo Chen's beloved grandson, consecutively knocked out twice in combat. But the fortunate thing was that he wasn't the only unlucky one. The others had suffered as well. Oh, you have to be more careful in that case. As for your combat training, this won't do. You do not have a gut that enhances your defense right now, so use thick towels to cover yourself. This will protect your limbs from getting hurt. Gu Mo Yan instructed before leaving. Hello, young miss. Good morning, young miss. Young miss is back. Your servant greets you, miss. Gu Mo Yan hastily walked with a cold demeanor, and the servants she met on the way bowed and paid respects to her without fail. She walked to the study room. Without any warning, Mo Yan pushed the door and entered through. Inside the room, Gu Mo Chen was practicing his calligraphy art with his back facing her. You're back, Gu Mo Chen asked directly without turning his body. After investigating for half a month, what is the situation with the wolf's den? How did you know it's me, grandfather? Mo Yan gasped, slightly taken aback. HMPH, in the entire family, you're the only person that dares to enter my room without even knocking the door once. Who else can it be besides you, my beloved granddaughter? Gu Mo Chen reprimanded, although his face showed traces of concern and warmth, and he looked at Mo Yan with a smile. Mo Yan pouted. When it comes to doting, you actually adore little brother more. However, since he's the future family head, you are more strict on him so others cannot sense your concern for him. After a while, she asked, Grandfather, little brother was beaten up. I asked him and he lied about the situation, so I had no choice but to ask you. Gu Mo Chen's face turned serious. You have not answered my question. He put down his brush and sat down. Mo Yan reluctantly reported, the wolves' den is almost full, so according to the current rate of breeding speed, although there won't be an outbreak this year, there will definitely be a wolf tide next year at our mountain village. Gu Mo Chen inquired again, generally there's an outbreak every 3 years, so this is no surprise. However, within that horde, how many Thunder Crown wolves are there? Around 3. Gu Mo Chen nodded, feeling assured. The Thunder Crown wolves were the head of the pack, and were the most troublesome to deal with during an outbreak. 3 wasn't a large number since Qingmao Mountain had 3 clan villages. Each village could handle 1 wolf, and the pressure of the outbreak would be greatly reduced. Grandfather, you have not told me about my little brother's matter yet. Mo Yan pursued again. I suppose there's no matter telling you, but he was beaten up. The first time was 7 days ago, and the second time happened today. It happened in front of the school gates, and he was beaten until he sprawled on the ground and fainted on both occasions. Gu Mo Chen laughingly replied. Who has the guts to knock out my little brother? Mo Yan stared, wide-eyed. He's a classmate of Mo Bei called Fang Yuan. He fights really well, Gu Mo Chen sniggered. Gu Mo Yan's eyes grew larger, and she was perplexed as she replied, Grandfather, what are you saying? He is your own blood-related grandson. Gu Mo Chen stared deeply at his granddaughter and spoke meaningfully, Mo Yan my dear, you are a girl so you may not understand. Defeat and humiliation only serve as fuel for improvement. Without failure one can never develop and grow into a true, mature man. Mo Bei was defeated, and that is his own failure. Once he wakes up, he will ask fighting techniques from the teachers. This is a sort of improvement, and this improvement comes from Fang Yuan, who beat him into realization. As his sister, if you really care and want to protect your brother, you should not interfere with his growth. Fang Yuan is just a boy with C-grade talent while Mo Bei has B-grade talent. With us supporting him, he will step over Fang Yuan and drive him into the ground eventually. Leave this opponent to Mo Bei. In a woman's life, she needs a family and a lover. But for a man, a family is not a necessity, yet what he cannot lack is a rival. Do not find trouble with Fang Yuan, do you hear me? This is a matter between the youths. If you get involved, this will be perceived as bullying. Breaking the rules like that will cause our Mo family to be looked down upon. Mo Yan gasped wordlessly, but under Gu Mo Chen's gaze, she finally lowered her head. Yes grandfather, your granddaughter understands. She staggered out of the study room, but even Gu Mo Chen did not notice, her eyes shined ominously. Grandfather, this is your way of loving your grandson. And I, Mo Yan, have my own methods. Mo Yan's heart already had different plans. In the inn's dining room, several tables were occupied and people were having dinner, thus the environment was rather lively. 1 or 2 waiters served dishes rapidly, traversing between tables. Fang Yuan sat at the table near the windows. He ordered a few dishes and ate while gazing out of the window. Looking out, the sunset looked like fire, slowly burning away. Half of the sun had already set, it longingly gazed at the lands, its afterglow being the sun's reluctance. Far up the mountains, it was already veiled by the seeping nightfall. The streets nearby were gathered full of people who were going home. Some of them were barefooted, some muddy farmers, some of them herb pickers, some hunters holding mountain pheasants, wild boars and other animals, and some were GU masters. They wore a blue uniform, looking clean and spirited, a headband and a waist belt completing their appearance. The belt had a specific function, for rank 1 GU masters it was a blue belt. There was a bronze plate at the front, and the number, 1, could be seen. For rank 2 GU masters, their belt was red, and the steel plate in the middle showed the number, 2. Sitting at the side of the window, Fang Yuan observed that there were 6 to 7 rank 1 GU masters, and they were mostly young men. There was also a rank 2 GU master, a middle-aged man. As for rank 3 GU masters, they were the family elders. And 4th rank would be the clan head, the lord of a village. Rank 5 GU masters were hardly seen, and in the entire history of the GUU clan, there were only the 1st generation clan head and the 4th generation clan head who had reached this level. Actually, finding out a clan's strength is very simple. Just find a spot in the village, settle down and observe the people for a few hours, see how many rank 1 and rank 2 GU masters there are and you'll be able to see the clan's strength and wealth. Fang Yuan came to a conclusion with his accumulated knowledge of 500 years. Using the GUU village as an example, there were around 20 people walking on the streets, and 6 were GU masters. In these 6, there was a 50% chance of having one rank 2 GU master. With this strength and capital, the GUU clan managed to monopolize one of the best resource locations in Qingmao Mountain. But the mountain was just a small corner in the entire area of the southern border. The GUU clan could only be considered as a middle-low tier clan. I have only started my cultivation, and with rank 1 initial stage, I do not even have the qualification to roam the southern border. I need at least rank 3 cultivation to be able to further roam the world, Fang Yuan sighed as he consumed his dinner. Qingmao Mountain was too small, it could not contain his ambitions, and he was determined to leave. Haha, GUU Fang Yuan, I have finally found you. At this moment, a middle-aged man laughed deviously as he approached. Fang Yuan turned slightly to see a man with a yellowish skin tone and hanging brows, but he had a huge body size and developed muscles. He strode several steps to Fang Yuan with his arms folded and proudly stared at the youth who was still consuming his dinner, with a hint of hostility. Fang Yuan, you've gotten yourself into huge trouble, do you know that? Ha, you have dared to hit our young master of the Mo family, and now our young miss is here to settle the score with you. The middle-aged man snickered continuously. He constantly stared and sized up Fang Yuan, faintly emitting a threatening aura. Chapter 32 Making Fun. If a normal person was stared at by this middle-aged man, they would have probably developed fear in their hearts already. However, Fang Yuan lost interest after looking at him for a second and continued focusing on his meal, treating this man as if he were invisible. Who's that guy? He wears the clothing of a family servant, and he is not a GU master. Why would he dare to question young Master Fang Yuan? An employee wondered as he hid at the corner of the inn, sensing that the situation may turn ugly. HMPH, he's like a fox assuming a tiger's ferocity. By using the Mo family as his backing, this servant man dares to clamor at a GU master. If it were any other mortal man, they wouldn't have the guts to do this, someone beside the employee replied in disdain. Even so, as a mere mortal he has the guts to cause a ruckus towards a GU master. Tisk tisk, this kind of experience must feel really great. TCH, you shouldn't think that a GU master is always high and mighty. Young Master Fang Yuan is merely a rank 1 initial stage GU master, and he has just managed to refine his vital GU. If they were to fight now, he may not be the opponent of this muscular and strong mortal. Sigh, let's just hope that when they fight later, they will spare our inn and the furniture. The employees chattered back and forth, but none dared to take a step forward, only staring from a distance. You still have the mood to continue eating. Seeing as how he did not manage to intimidate or scare Fang Yuan, the muscular middle-aged man had a hint of doubt in his eyes. Do you think I'm lying to you? There are already people reporting to young miss and she will be here shortly. Do not attempt to run away, young lad, because you won't be able to get away. My job here is to make sure you stay put. There will be much suffering for you later. Fang Yuan paid no heed to the man and continued eating his meal. The middle-aged servant frowned as he did not see a hint of panic or shock from Fang Yuan. This made him feel ignored and his pride was severely offended. He had been a servant in the Mo family for over a decade, and he had acquired the trust of his master. Over a long period, he would naturally come to learn about the details of GU masters. Rank 1 GU masters mostly relied on their physical combat skills. In battle, a GU worm's worth was attributed more to its deterrence factor than as a fighting force. He knew especially that for a young GU master like Fang Yuan who had just started cultivating, his physical strength was far inferior when compared to a grown man. If it came down to close combat, he who had trained for many years would gain the upper advantage. At the same time, Fang Yuan had supposedly only refined the Moonlight GU, so at the max, he would only be able to shoot out several moonblades. The middle-aged man was used as a sparring partner from a long time ago, so he knew deeply that if a rank 1 initial stage GU master were to use his primeval essence to unleash the moonblade, the most it could do was cut several palm-sized wounds and cause limited damage if it managed to hit the human body. Additionally, the man had the backing of the Mo family, so when he confronted Fang Yuan he had no fear, and was wholeheartedly trying to show off his worth to his master so that he could be rewarded and deemed more useful to the family. Young lad, you sure are courageous, huh? The middle-aged man's tone was turning unfriendly as he folded up his sleeves, revealing his well-toned and muscular forearms. His 2 arms were large and full of scars. The forearms had thick protruding veins and were even thicker than Fang Yuan's legs. The inn employees watched in fear and several customers were already getting up, paying the bills and leaving this land of conflict. Fang Yuan has been found. Suddenly, the door emitted a proud, loud female voice. Mo Yan strode forward in big steps and entered the inn. Behind her were numerous family servants. Her body figure was decent, slightly tall and had the proper curves. But a long face like a horse's, an inherited gene from the Mo bloodline, caused her looks to be greatly affected, and thus she was only a middle upper tier beauty. However, she wore a dark blue uniform, and a red belt, affixed with a square steel plate, tied around her waistline. The steel plate was engraved with a 2. Additionally, she had just returned from after a clan mission, so there was still lingering traces of the hardship that she had just gone through. These added up to create a field of pressure and threat that was emitted to her surroundings. Thus, once she stepped into the inn, the entire place went silent under her aura. Your servant greets you, young miss. The middle-aged man changed his attitude completely upon seeing Mo Yan. He tried to smile charmingly and he bent his body as he walked a few steps and knelt on the floor, greeting Mo Yan. Upon seeing this change in behavior, the workers in the inn could only stare in shock with their mouths wide open. The tall and muscular figure, as opposed to his humble groveling attitude, was a great mismatch and was seemingly amusing. But the employees of the inn did not laugh as his behavior only greatly showed off Mo Yan's imposing pressure and status. Some of the inn workers could not help but worry for Fang Yuan as he was their major customer. If something were to happen to him and made him unable to patronize the inn any further, it would be a huge loss. More of them were secretly praying for Fang Yuan to surrender. If a fight really broke out and destroyed the inn's property, that would be worse. Mo Yan did not even take a look at the groveling Gao Wan, her eyes were fixed on Fang Yuan. She took a few steps forward and demanded in a fierce tone, "So you are Fang Yuan? You seem to be having a good meal. He, have you ever had a knuckle sandwich? I'll give you a taste of it, it might be even more delicious." Even though she said that, Mo Yan did not make a move. Fang Yuan's actions were too calm. It was strange, did he have any secret backers that were protecting him? But it shouldn't be so, I've checked before coming. This Fang Yuan only has an uncle and aunt that dislike him, while both his parents are deceased, and he even got chased out of the house by his uncle and aunt. In addition, he only has C-rank talent, so how could such a weak young man have any sort of background? Mo Yan thought in her mind. Regardless of this, the situation was still too peculiar. She had to test and probe further. Fang Yuan laughed and squinted at Mo Yan, saying, "Who told you I was Gu Fang Yuan?" Mo Yan was momentarily stunned, then she took a look at Gao Wan. He had just stood up, but upon seeing this he immediately knelt back down with sweat pouring out of his forehead. He stammered and could not give a coherent reply, "Master, your servant, your servant." They had a drawing of Fang Yuan, but they did not know that Fang Yuan and Fang Zheng were twins that looked almost identical. No wonder this young man looked like he had no fear. He is actually Fang Zheng and not Fang Yuan. Mo Yan's servants guessed in their minds. Fang Yuan cannot be compared to Fang Zheng. The former is merely a C-rank loner with no background. The latter however has a ranked talent and was pulled into the clan head's faction at the awakening ceremony, and as long as he grows smoothly, he has a bright future ahead. Mo Yan did not get proper a reply from Gao Wan, causing her to be even more hesitant. At this point, the only ones who knew Fang Yuan's identity were the inn employees. However, they could not afford to offend either parties so they only kept their mouths shut. Fang Yuan was satiated from his meal. He stood up and glanced lightly at Mo Yan, "You want to find Fang Yuan? Come with me, I'll bring you to the school hostel to look for him. If the person in front of me is Fang Zheng, I would not want to offend him. However, even if he is really Fang Yuan, I will follow him closely on this trip so I have no fear of him impersonating Fang Zheng." In an instant, Mo Yan made up her mind. "All right, I will go together with you to the school hostel." "After you." Mo Yan turned her body to make space for Fang Yuan, stretching out her arm and indicating for Fang Yuan to take the lead. Fang Yuan laughed nonchalantly and strode forth. Mo Yan followed closely behind with her servants trailing at the back. So close. They're finally gone. Even if they start fighting, it is none of our inn's business anymore. The employees that were left behind all sighed in relief as they patted their chests. A group of people approached the school hostel. "Halt. Stop right there, the school hostel only allows our clan's GU masters to enter and leave." The two guards at the door stopped Fang Yuan, Mo Yan and her gang. "Insolent, do you not recognize who I am? How dare you stop me?" Mo Yan stared at the two and screamed. "We dare not," the two guards hurriedly gestured. "Young Miss Mo Yan, this guard holds you in high regards. However, the clan rules are absolute, so how about this? You can bring one servant in. This is the most we can do for you," an elderly guard politely responded. Mo Yan clicked her tongue. Her heart was full of dissatisfaction, yet in the presence of the clan rules, she did not dare to break them. The Mo family was prosperous, and thus they had many enemies. Do not forget that aside from the Mo family branch, there was also the Kai family to contend with. Apart from the Kai family, the clan head's faction also wanted to get a hold on the Mo family. "All of you stay behind. Gao Wan will follow me." Thinking about it, Mo Yan gave her orders. Gao Wan immediately held his chest up high with a look of joy on his face. "Thank you, young miss, for the opportunity. Let's go, Junior." Mo Yan smiled at Fang Yuan with a questioning look. Fang Yuan remained unfazed as he led them in. He reached the dormitory door, opened the lock and pushed the door open. He then took a step into the room and stopped. Within the room, there was nothing extra. It was all simple furniture, and there was no one else. Mo Yan stood at the doorstep, took a look inside and her face turned grim. Junior, you better explain yourself well, there is no one in the room. Fang Yuan smiled faintly, aren't I someone? Mo Yan stared at Fang Yuan, a glint flashing in her eyes as she suddenly seemed to have understood. I am looking for you, Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan snickered, you know, I never said that I wasn't Fang Yuan. Chapter 33 Go ahead and scold away. Mo Yan frowned, then her rage burst forth almost instantly as she suddenly understood that she had been fooled by Fang Yuan. You are tremendously brave to even consider lying to me. While speaking, she stretched out her right hand to grab hold of Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan stood firmly on the spot. He raised his head and laughed, Mo Yan, you better think this through. Mo Yan stopped her actions. While she still stood right outside the door, her outstretched hand paused in midair and her face showed a sign of hesitation and resentment. Within the family, there were relevant rules. Students in the dormitories were protected, and any other person would not be allowed to intrude upon the hostel to capture the students. Mo Yan only wished to teach Fang Yuan a lesson and let him bear a taste of suffering. She definitely did not want to risk getting punished for breaking the rules. If it's only me who broke the rules, that would still be fine. However, if this would affect the family and even grandfather's honor, thinking of this, Mo Yan reluctantly withdrew her arm. She looked at Fang Yuan who was inside the house with her bloodshot eyes. If her death stare could be converted into fire, it would burn Fang Yuan to ashes in a second. I never lied to you. I said I would bring you to Fang Yuan, and now you have already found him here. It seems you have something to say to me. Fang Yuan smiled faintly with his arms behind his back, ignoring the pressure of a rank 2 GU master, fearlessly making eye contact with Mo Yan's furious gaze. He was just a step apart from Mo Yan. One stood within the house, and one stayed outside. But this same distance had also become as far as the east was from the west. Oh Fang Yuan, you sure have studied the clan rules well and thoroughly. Mo Yan, suppressing her anger, said with a sinister smile. She added, unfortunately for you, even while relying on the rules, all it will do for you is to stall for time. There is no way you are staying in the dormitories forever. I'll see how long you can stand hiding in there. Fang Yuan laughed refreshingly and looked at Mo Yan with disdain. Then all the more I want to see how long you can disturb me. Ah, it is already late. I have a bed to sleep in, but what about you? If I do not show up for class tomorrow and the elders come to investigate, what do you think I will say? Mo Yan flew into a rage, her fingers pointing at Fang Yuan, barely restraining herself, do you really think I wouldn't dare come in and take you down? Squeak. Fang Yuan opened the doors of the hostel wide open, his lips breaking into a grin, his eyes dark like the abyss and his tone full of confidence as if the situation was within his grasp. He challenged Mo Yan, then show me. Mo Yan calmed down instead upon seeing this. Her eyes squinted as she looked at Fang Yuan and she said, do you think I'd fall for your goading? Fang Yuan shrugged. He had already seen through Mo Yan's personality. If he had closed the door, or even half shut it, Mo Yan had at least a 50% probability of breaking into the house. But when he purposely opened it fully, it had instead made her more wary and calm as a result. Thus there was barely any chance of her forcing her way in anymore. 500 years of experience had already made him fully aware of the human nature and their weaknesses. He grandly turned around, exposing his back fully to Mo Yan. If Mo Yan struck now, she would definitely be able to capture him in one swift action. However, Mo Yan stayed still outside the door as if there was an invisible mountain blocking her way. Even after Fang Yuan sat in his bed, Mo Yan only stared at him in anger, gritting her teeth. But regardless of this, she did not make a move. This is the pathetic side of humans. Fang Yuan sat up and stared at Mo Yan who was outside looking like a fool, thinking to himself, at times, the things preventing people from taking action is not physical difficulty but instead it is the restrictions they have placed on themselves subconsciously. When comparing cultivation levels, Fang Yuan was definitely not her match at this point in time. But even with her rank 2 cultivation level, she could only stare at Fang Yuan and had no courage to make a move. Her distance from him was only a few steps away, and the door was wide open with no hindrance. The only thing that was truly restricting her was none other than herself. Humanity sought for knowledge relentlessly to understand the world and to comprehend the rules, and ultimately to use them. If one is constantly bound by the rules, thus being restricted by the very knowledge they sought, that is the ultimate tragedy. Fang Yuan took a final look at Mo Yan before closing his eyes and letting his consciousness sink into the primeval sea. This Fang Yuan dares to cultivate right in front of me. He is simply doing so as he pleases. Looking at this sight, Mo Yan felt a sense of frustration erupting from her chest, making her almost wanting to vomit blood. She badly wanted to go ahead and give him a few punches. But she knew she couldn't. Mo Yan suddenly felt a hint of regret. Standing outside the door, she felt the awkwardness of not being able to back down. She was indignant to give up now, but she would be devastatingly humiliated. She mobilized her servants with the intention to come and teach Fang Yuan a lesson, yet in the end she was the one who ended up becoming the laughingstock. Especially when there was a servant looking at her now. Damn it, Fang Yuan is way too uncooperative. He's too sly, Mo Yan furiously thought and started to provoke him with all sorts of insults, hoping to force him out of the room. Fang Yuan, you brat, come out if you're a man. Fang Yuan, as a man you must own up to your own doings. Now you're being a coward hiding in that room, do you not feel ashamed of yourself? Stop pretending to ignore me, get out if you know what's good for you. You cowardly, spineless trash. Fang Yuan shut his ears and did not give a single response. After scolding for a while, instead of venting all her anger, she felt even more irritated. She was starting to feel like a clown or a shrew, blocking the door was just way too embarrassing. Ah, this is getting to the death of me. Mo Yan was about to go crazy, and she finally gave up on provoking Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan, you can hide now, but you can't hide from me forever. She furiously stomped the ground and left indignantly. Before leaving she gave a final order, Gao Wan, stand there and watch him. I do not believe he will not leave the house. Yes, master, the muscular servant, Gao Wan rapidly replied and sent Mo Yan off. Within his heart he was feeling bitter, the mountain was chilly and breezy at night. He would have to stand guard the entire time, catching a cold easily like this. It was not an easy task. Swish swoosh, within the primeval sea, ebb and flow of the tides raged on. The green copper primeval essence gathered like water, forcing a tidal wave rolling about. Under Fang Yuan's mental guidance, the waves endlessly crashed towards the surrounding aperture walls. A rank 1 initial stage GU master's aperture walls resembled a white barrier. At this time, with the green copper primeval essence crashing towards them, it produced shadows of light, creating an indescribable feeling. Time passed gradually and the level of the green copper primeval sea slowly declined. From the original 44%, it dropped to 12%. If a GU master wants to raise their cultivation level, they would have to expend their primeval essence to nurture the aperture. Initial stage GU masters have light barriers as their aperture walls, while middle stage GU masters have water barriers as their aperture walls, and for upper stage, they have stone barriers. For me to cultivate from initial stage to middle stage, I will have to nurture the light barrier into water barrier aperture walls. From his 500 years of memories, Fang Yuan had complete familiarity with the current stages of cultivation, and the methods were as clear as day to him. He slowly opened his eyes, only to see that it was already late into the night. The crescent moon hung high in the night sky, the moonlight shining pure as water. The door was wide open and the moonlight shone in, letting Fang Yuan think of a famous poem from Earth. On a quiet night I saw the moonlight before my couch, and wondered if it were not the frost on the ground one. The night winds blew with a hint of chilliness. Fang Yuan did not have any warmth type GU, and with just the body of a 15-year-old, he could not help but shiver slightly. The night in the mountain was very cold. Scoundrel, you finally opened your eyes. How long are you planning to be cultivating there? Get out, you'll be punished regardless. You beat up our young master Mo Bei, so it was only a matter of time before young miss teaches you a lesson. Seeing that Fang Yuan had woken up, Gao Wan, who was standing at the door, got his spirits up. Fang Yuan squinted. It seemed that the rank 2 female GU master had left. Scoundrel, did you hear me? Hurry and come out here. You have a room to stay in and a bed to sleep, but I had to stand here all night. If you don't come out any time soon, don't you believe I might just barge in? Seeing no reaction from Fang Yuan, Gao Wan threatened. Fang Yuan remained unfazed. Scumbag, come out and surrender yourself. You've offended the Mo family, you will not have any good days from now on. Hurry and apologize to young miss and maybe she might just forgive you. Gao Wan continued to chide. Fang Yuan did not listen to a single word. He took out a primeval stone from his storage bag and held it in his hands, finally closing his eyes again. Seeing that he was going to continue cultivating, Gao Wan was anxious and broke into a fit. You mere C-rank talent, the most you can achieve in life is a rank 2 GU master. What is there to cultivate? You are no match for the entire Mo family by yourself. Kid, are you deaf? Did you listen to a single word I said? Chapter 34 Suppressive Beating. Fang Yuan paid no heed to the man and started to multitask. He simultaneously absorbed the natural essence from the primeval stone and observed his aperture. The primeval sea level, which had originally fell drastically within the aperture, with help from the constant stream of natural essence, began to slowly rise up again. This form of recovery speed was inevitably slow, but Fang Yuan was in no hurry. Cultivation was meant to be accumulative, it could not be rushed. The urgent matter at hand was in fact the middle-aged servant outside the house. After half an hour, Fang Yuan's green copper primeval sea reached 44%, the maximum capacity it could hold. But this was not the end. At this point the primeval sea showed a jade green color. This was only a rank 1 initial stage green copper primeval essence. The primeval essence that Fang Yuan had previously used to nurture the aperture wall was no longer initial stage primeval essence. It had been turned into middle stage primeval essence, refined by the liquor worm. Liquor worm. With a thought from Fang Yuan, the liquor worm within the primeval sea instantly flew out and hovered in midair, its body curling into a ball form, resembling a white rice ball. Swoosh. 10% of his initial stage primeval essence was deployed and sent into the liquor worm's body, and soon the essence was fully absorbed by it. Soon after, a surge of liquor mist emerged from the liquor worm's body and congregated into a lump. Once more, Fang Yuan deployed 10% of his primeval essence and invested it into this liquor mist. Once the mist had been fully expended, the original 10% of initial stage primeval essence shrunk by half physically, and at the same time the color changed from jade green to pale green. This is middle stage primeval essence. In order to advance in their cultivation, ordinary students all use initial stage primeval essence. However, I'll be using middle stage primeval essence, and the efficiency is at least twice of theirs. Similarly, when using middle stage primeval essence to activate the Moonlight GU and throw a Moonblade, it will be far stronger than activating it using initial stage primeval essence. Only when all the primeval essence in the primeval sea had been converted to middle stage primeval essence did Fang Yuan open his eyes. Time passes in the blink of an eye when cultivating, and at this point it was already midnight. The sky was no longer a pure black, but it had turned a deep dark blue color. The moon was no longer visible, and only a few lingering stars remained. The door was open almost throughout the entire night, and a corner of the wooden door was already wet, showing a dark color as the water tainted it. The school hostel had this disadvantage: it was not as comfortable as an ordinary wooden lodge that was built above the ground one, but it was directly built on the ground and thus it had high humidity. Coming back to reality, Fang Yuan felt a chill down his spine. After sitting cross-legged for such a long time, both his legs felt numb. He opened his clenched right fist and scattered a handful of white stone powder. This was the primeval stone after its essence had been fully absorbed, and what remained was only the leftover powder. After a night of cultivation, I had expended 3 primeval stones. Fang Yuan calculated in his mind. He had C-rank talent, but in order to pursue faster cultivation speed, he used primeval stones to replenish his primeval essence. What was more crucial was the liquor worm, as it had been used to refine his middle stage primeval essence. This had greatly increased the expenditure of his primeval stones. Although I plundered another sum of primeval stones yesterday, a night of cultivation cost me 3 stones. In this case, although it might seem that I have a lot of resources, it is unable to sustain me for a long time with my current cultivation speed, but this is the price I have to pay for pursuing cultivation speed and efficiency. Fang Yuan looked outside the room again, only to see Gao Wan, the muscular servant, squatting at a corner with his body curled up, seemingly fallen asleep. Looks like that rank 2 female GU master had left long ago, leaving this Gao Wan here to keep a watch on me. Hee hee. Fang Yuan revealed a cold smile as he got off the bed and began to exercise his limbs. Once his body had warmed up, he left the hostel. Lad, you finally decided to come out. So how about it? Obediently surrender and leave with me to kowtow and apologize to our young miss. Gao Wan's ears caught Fang Yuan's footsteps and he stood up immediately. His muscular body was almost twice the size of Fang Yuan. The muscles in his body tightened and his brows knitted together, a pair of cruel eyes shining with evil light, resembling a starving hyena. Fang Yuan expressionlessly walked towards him. Lad, you should have came out earlier. By coming out now, do you know how much the great me had to suffer by watching over you? He snickered while approaching Fang Yuan, evidently planning something sinister. At this moment, Fang Yuan lightly cried out, and with a ferocious leap he aimed both fists towards Gao Wan. Bastard, you're courting death. Gao Wan's face distorted with rising anger within him, raised his brick-sized fist and he punched towards Fang Yuan. The fist was extremely powerful, slicing through air and the swooshing sound of the wind could be heard. Fang Yuan's eyes shone clear as crystal. Seeing that the fist was approaching close, he sidestepped and turned towards Gao Wan's rear. Stretching out a finger, he struck towards Gao Wan's waist. Gao Wan blocked with his retracted arm. Fang Yuan did not get a clear hit, and ended up hitting onto Gao Wan's left forearm. Fang Yuan's finger felt like it had hit a steel plate, painful and numb. This Gao Wan has already approached the limits of a mortal's physical prowess. Right now I can only use the Moonlight GU to fight, and without any other GU worms to assist me, I am not his match at basic close combat. Fang Yuan's eyes shone and he decided quickly to give up on attacking. Instead, he retracted a few steps and pulled some distance away from Gao Wan. In the GUU village, only the GUU clansmen had the rights to cultivate as a GU master. The outsiders, regardless of whether they had cultivation talent or not, had no rights to attend the awakening ceremony. But these mortals could train in physical combat. Just like the Gao Wan here, although he was not a GU master, he had trained vigorously in his punches and kicks and his basic skill was steadfast. Additionally he was a middle-aged man, and this meant being at the physical prime in a mortal's lifetime. Fang Yuan, other than having the Moonlight GU to fight, had only the body of a 15-year-old teenager. Be it strength, agility or endurance, he was not Gao Wan's match. Martial artists like Gao Wan were sufficient enough to kill a rank 1 initial stage GU master. Even towards a rank 1 middle stage GU master, they still posed a certain threat. This lad is too sneaky. Seeing that Fang Yuan had drawn some distance between them, Gao Wan felt anxiety within his heart. The waist was a vital point of the body, and if it was damaged by someone through brute force, the harm was not negligible. If the force was exerted beyond a point, it could also be deadly. Gao Wan had waited outside the hostel for the entire night, and thus his body was enshrouded by the moist atmosphere, causing his reaction speed to be slightly slower. Hence the strike earlier had almost succeeded. Fortunately, although he was a bootlicker, he had trained hard in his physical ability. So at the crucial moment his body's reflex instinctively reacted and allowed him to narrowly block Fang Yuan's attack. I can't be careless anymore. This lad behaves like a wolf, striking harsh and deviously, getting his way whenever I am even but a little careless. No wonder young master was knocked out by him twice. Gao Wan wiped the sweat off his forehead and swept away all hints of contempt. He started to take his opponent seriously. If I can capture this lad, it'd be a great accomplishment. Young miss is sure to reward me. A rank 1 initial stage's moonblade is at max only like a small dagger, so as long as it does not hit my vital points it'll merely be a light external injury. Thinking of this, Gao Wan's heart started to beat faster. Stretching out his shovel-like hands, he grabbed at Fang Yuan. Boom boom boom. Fang Yuan showed no fear and approached Gao Wan to engage in close combat. Exchanging punches and kicks, taking turns attacking and defending, loud impact sounds echoed through the area. When plundering the students, he had only used his palm with his objective being to control the crowd. But now when engaging with Gao Wan, Fang Yuan had gone all out. At times he used his fingers to jab at the eyes, sometimes strangling the throat, hitting the jaw with the base of his palm, chopping at the back of his opponent's head, using the knee to strike the pelvic area, or using his hands to grab at the waist. Gao Wan's sweat poured out like a river. Fang Yuan's moves were all aiming at the vital points, each strike devious and deadly as if he wanted to end Gao Wan's life right there. Gao Wan was a mere mortal, and unlike the GU masters, although he trained well in his physical combat, his vital points remained vital. Mortals were unable to train their eyelids to become steel-like. This was the limits of the mortal martial arts. In addition, Gao Wan did not dare to unleash any deadly moves on Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was a GUU clansman, so killing him would incur public rage and he would be immediately executed. In fact, the Mo family will be the first to carry out his punishment. Thus his only thought was to capture Fang Yuan alive, and it would be good if he could make Fang Yuan suffer in the process of capture. One side has apprehension while the other side had killing intent. The situation thus became Fang Yuan suppressing Gao Wan in the fight. Chapter 35. Go ahead and scream. Fang Yuan had the upper hand for now, but it could not sustain him for much longer. Exchanging blows back and forth, he was already panting in exhaustion. In contrast, Gao Wan's breathing was still smooth and in sync, reflecting the huge difference in stamina between the two. At the same time, as Gao Wan exercised his limbs, his body gradually heated up while his punching speed became faster and faster. The effect of the cold that caused him to be slow and numb had worn off, displaying the true skills honed by his training for decades. Lad, you are unable to beat me. There are clan rules stating that within the school hostel, you are forbidden from using the Moonlight Gu. You are dead meat, doomed to be my captive. Gao Wan laughed maniacally. His fighting experience was rich, so he attempted to use words to cause Fang Yuan's fighting spirit to waver. In the end, I'm only just a teenager and my body that hasn't fully developed cannot be compared to this servant. Fang Yuan's state of mind was calm as ice. Having sharpened his will for 500 years, there was no way his fighting spirit would waver. Moonlight Gu, he called out in his mind, activating his primeval essence and at the same time leaping backwards to pull away from Gao Wan. Gao Wan wanted to chase after him, but he suddenly saw a watery blue light emitting from Fang Yuan's palm. His face darkened and he shouted, "Lad, you are using the Gu worm to fight in the school hostel, this is against the clan rules." "So what if I break the rules?" Fang Yuan sneered. He learned the clan rules and memorized it to heart, but it was not for the sake of obeying it. Immediately, his palm slashed an arc towards Gao Wan. With a ching sound, the blue moonblade flew towards Gao Wan's face. Gao Wan gritted his teeth as he raised both arms to cover his face, forming a protective shield. At the same time, he rushed towards Fang Yuan without pause, planning to endure the attack while ending the battle as quickly as he could. The moonblade struck his arm. With a popping sound, his flesh and blood poured out under the moonlight, a wave of extreme pain hitting Gao Wan's nerves. The unguarded man nearly fainted from the pain. How can this be? His rush towards Fang Yuan stopped, and he frightfully found out that both his limbs had been cut open with a deep wound. Fresh blood oozed out from the wound and from the side, while bloody muscles could be observed hanging around his flesh. Even the broken white bones of the forearm could be seen. Gao Wan was shocked beyond words. This is impossible. A rank 1 initial stage moonblade, the most it could do is to lightly injure my flesh. How could it cut through my bones? Only a rank 1 middle stage can do this. He had no idea. While Fang Yuan was a rank 1 initial stage Gu master, due to the liquor worm's refining, he possessed rank 1 middle stage primeval essence. The Moonlight Gu, activated using middle stage primeval essence, emitted a moonblade far superior to the initial stage that he originally predicted. This is bad, this boy is weird. Gao Wan, who was caught off guard, had already suffered a grave injury. His fighting spirit was gone and he decisively decided to retreat. Are you able to escape? Fang Yuan smiled coldly as he started to give chase, the moonblades in his hands shooting out consecutively. Save me! Gao Wan shouted out in horror as he fled, his voice traveling far out beyond the school hostel. What is going on? Someone is asking for help. The voice alerted the school hostel guards who were nearby. It's the Mo family's young miss, Mo Yan's servant. The guards who arrived stopped in their tracks upon seeing the chasing scene. This is only a servant, there is no need for us to risk protecting him. Letting him stay here was already a favor towards the Mo family. We still have to be careful, just in case he hurts Fang Yuan in desperation. The anxious guards all gathered around, but no one lent a hand to Gao Wan, they only observed from the sidelines. This servant Gao Wan, even if he died, it had nothing to do with them. However, if Fang Yuan died or got hurt, it would be their responsibility. Seeing such a sight, Gao Wan despaired, he tragically screamed, "We are all outsiders. You cannot leave me to die." His blood loss was getting more severe, and his speed decreased. Fang Yuan caught up to him, his voice cold as ice, announcing Gao Wan's death sentence, "Go ahead and scream. It doesn't matter how loud you do so." While saying that, the blade in his arm rotated, and he fired 2 moonblades towards Gao Wan. Swoosh, swoosh, the moonblades flew towards Gao Wan's neck. The servant lost all hope, seemingly one step away into the abyss. The next moment, he felt that his world was spinning, he actually saw his own feet, chest, back and that severed neck. Afterwards, total darkness awaited him. Gao Wan had died. Beheaded by 2 moonblades, his head flew away from the impact, his body pushed back 10 meters before falling. The neck area spewed out a fountain of fresh blood, dyeing the surrounding grass a blood red. Murder! Fang Yuan killed someone. The guards could not help but scream out. They had witnessed the entire process, and they felt a sense of extreme trepidation and terror rushing all over their body. Fang Yuan was just a weak 15-year-old teenager, but he expressionlessly murdered a strong adult. This was the power of a Gu master. The victory had been set. Fang Yuan slowed in his footsteps and gradually moved towards the corpse. His face was calm, as if he had done nothing out of the ordinary. This expression further sent a shiver down the guards' spines. Gao Wan's head lay on the ground, both his eyes wide open, turning in his grave. Fang Yuan stared coldly, he raised his leg and sent the head flying. The guard's eyelids twitched. Fang Yuan approached the corpse and found that it was still vibrating. The blood spread through the ground, forming a small bloody puddle. He looked at Gao Wan's injuries with a grim expression. These injuries were deep enough to expose the secret to the fact that he had middle-stage primeval essence. Once this was exposed, it'll be quickly deduced that he had a liquor worm, and with that the family would naturally think of the flower wine monk. Thus, Fang Yuan had to keep this secret hidden. But there are too many onlookers. Fang Yuan's gaze swept through the nearby guards. There was more than 10 of them. He had less than 10% primeval essence left, so there was no way to kill them all. After pondering for a while, Fang Yuan bent down and raised Gao Wan's ankle, dragging the corpse away. "Young Master Fang Yuan, you can leave this to us." The guards controlled their fear and approached Fang Yuan, politely speaking. The respect and politeness held a tint of obvious fear. Fang Yuan silently looked at the guards, and they all held their breaths, looking down. "Give me the saber," he stretched out his hand and lightly said. With authority in his speech, he emitted undeniable pressure. The guard closest to him uncontrollably handed him the saber on his waist. Fang Yuan took the saber over and continued walking, leaving behind a dozen stunned guards staring after his back. The sun rose from the east, and the first ray of light shone over the mountain peak, lighting up the school hostel. 15-year-old Fang Yuan, with the scrawny body of a teenager, a pale look upon his skin. Under the sunrise, he casually walked. In his left hand was a shiny saber. In his right hand, a headless corpse. His path left behind a trail of bright red blood traces dragged out on the road. The guards were flabbergasted, their bodies stiff due to the frightening scene. Even as the sunlight shone on them, they could not feel a sense of warmth and light. Gulp. Someone among them swallowed their saliva loudly. Chapter 36 Gifting a Disseminated Corpse. "Did you guys hear? Fang Yuan killed someone," a student whispered to his classmate beside him. "I heard it too, he really killed somebody." The classmate clenched his chest with a pale face. There were many guards who saw him do it. Fang Yuan was chasing after that man. That guy tried to beg for mercy but Fang Yuan paid him no heed and decapitated him immediately. That's not all. After killing him, Fang Yuan didn't even spare his headless corpse. He dragged it back to the hostel and chopped it into a meat paste. "Are you for real? I'm serious beyond belief. I came early this morning and I could still see the bloodstains left between the cracks of the green rock. Oh man, why would I lie to you?" Earlier, the academy elder called Fang Yuan over for this matter. The youths in the academy did not pay attention to class as they held their little conversations. To this group of 15-year-olds, the concept of killing was too foreign and too scary. They had been under the protection of the clan since a young age and had at most experienced organized sparring or simply killing chickens and dogs. As for killing a person, it was still beyond them. Who did Fang Yuan kill? I heard it was a family servant of the Mo branch family. Yup, I'm the clearest about this matter. Yesterday, I personally saw the Mo family's Mo Yan bring a bunch of family servants to find trouble with Fang Yuan. The Mo family, that's not good. Mo Bei is in trouble now. A number of the youths turned to look at Guu Mo Bei. Mo Bei sat on his seat with a pale face. He had only heard about the news of Fang Yuan killing someone this morning. Additionally, it was the Gao Wan that Mo Bei was familiar with. As one of the more energetic family servants, Gao Wan was good at bootlicking and had also put effort into his fighting skills. He was an able lackey. A long while ago, Gao Wan had even sparred with Mo Bei for a bit. To think that he was simply killed by Fang Yuan. It was precisely because of this that Mo Bei felt astonished. He was full of disbelief and felt twice the shock compared to the others. However, compared to his shock, he felt a greater sense of worry and fear. Facing a murderer like Fang Yuan, it would be a lie if Mo Bei said that he was not afraid. Actually, it was not just him, the other youngsters were afraid too. When Fang Yuan had robbed them twice previously, all of them had gotten physical with him. I actually fought with such a ruthless murderer. To think that I'm actually still alive. Many of them patted their chest, feeling a lingering fear. Fang Yuan killing someone was still somewhat acceptable, but the crux was that he even dissected the corpse and chopped the body into meat paste. That was way too cruel. The truth of such a horrifying crime had a strong impact on all of the youths, pure and innocent minds. Within the room, there was only the academy elder and Fang Yuan. The academy elder sat while Fang Yuan stood. Neither of them spoke a word, causing the atmosphere to be extremely tense. The academy elder silently looked at Fang Yuan and a hint of complication flashed in his eyes. In the morning, the guards had reported to him about Fang Yuan's murder incident. This news had made him feel both shocked and suspicious. He was a rank 3 GU master and was in charge of the academy. He obviously knew the fighting strength of a rank 1 initial stage GU master. Fang Yuan being able to kill Gao Wan was like the weak defeating the strong. In truth, some guards had already reported to him that Mo Yan had trapped Fang Yuan within the academy by barging in the previous night. Back then, he had not paid attention to the matter and had not stopped them. He was the academy elder, his objective was to nurture future GU masters, not to protect them. As long as there were no deaths among the students, he encouraged hidden conflicts. Mo Yan coming to find trouble with Fang Yuan was something that he was happy to see. For one, he knew that regardless of whether the fight was won or lost, it would be beneficial to Fang Yuan's growth. Secondly, he wanted to suppress Fang Yuan's influence. Fang Yuan had consecutively blocked the academy's gates and robbed the other students. His influence was too great, it had to be suppressed. However, he hadn't expected that Mo Yan would return fruitlessly and that the family servant that she had left behind would be unable to beat Fang Yuan. Gao Wan even got killed by him. In this world, strength was above all else. Killing someone was not something peculiar. Especially to a Gu master, it was something very common. But it was not so simple when it was a 15-year-old's first kill. The academy elder vividly remembered his first killing scene. Back then, he was already a rank 2 GU master. At the age of 19, he had killed a GU master from the Bai clan's village in a conflict. After killing the person, he vomited profusely and panicked in his heart. For a few days, he had no mood to eat and had no appetite. He could not even find peace in his sleep. The moment he shut his eyes, he would see the dead person staring angrily at him. But looking at Fang Yuan now, his face was calm as ice. Where was the fluster? Not to mention that he had no uneasy feelings. It was almost like he had slept perfectly well last night, as if the person who killed a man was not him at all. Especially when the academy elder heard more about the matter. After Fang Yuan had killed the servant, he did not spare the corpse and had even dragged it back to the dormitory to chop it into meat paste in his rage. Such vicious methods, even hearing about it was a kind of terror. Thus, at this point, the academy elder looked at Fang Yuan with complicated emotions. On one hand, he was amazed at Fang Yuan's indifference towards life, his attitude was as steady and as cold as ice. On the other hand, he was appreciative of the fact that Fang Yuan was a born battle freak. After familiarizing himself with the Moonlight GU for a few days, he had managed to kill someone with it. An ordinary teenager, even those with great talents, may not be able to achieve this. This was a talent for battle. If he was well nurtured and fought for the clan, it would be all of their enemies' nightmare. Lastly, he felt worry and distressed. Worry because after this incident, Fang Yuan's reputation was sure to rise and it would be impossible to suppress him. Fang Yuan was way too daring. Not only did he disobey the clan rules by using his GU in the academy, he even killed someone with it. There was a need to suppress his influence. Otherwise, how would the elder be able to manage this academy anymore? Distress was because he did not know how to perfectly resolve this issue. After all, it involved the Mo family's side. Fang Yuan, do you know why I called you here to meet me? The academy elder used a solemn and deep voice to break the silence in the room. I know. Fang Yuan nodded and replied, I used the Moonlight GU in the academy, breaking the clan rules. According to the rules, as it is my first offense, I should compensate 30 pieces of primeval stones as punishment. He evaded the crucial point and did not mention Gao Wan's death. The academy elder was stunned for a second, he had not expected that Fang Yuan would answer like this. His expression darkened as he coldly snapped, don't try to blur things in front of me. I'll ask you, what was the matter with Gao Wan's death? Fang Yuan squinted his eyes and said, HMPH, this Gao Wan went against his superiors, his intentions were vicious. Last night, not only did he block my room door, he even tried to kill me. In self-defense, I was forced to use the Moonlight GU. Fortunately, I managed to kill this traitor. I suspect that there is a high possibility of him being a spy of the other mountain villages. I implore the elders to investigate this thoroughly. Upon hearing this, the academy elder frowned and became at a loss for words. Now that Gao Wan was dead, Fang Yuan could say whatever he wanted. After all, Gao Wan was just an outsider, not a member of the clan. Even if he was dead, it would not matter to the academy elder. However, he was worried about the Mo family's reaction. Gao Wan was their servant and he had died within the academy. The academy elder was in charge of the academy and had to give the Mo family an explanation. Thinking for a bit, the academy elder stared at Fang Yuan and questioned, then let me ask you. Gao Wan's corpse, how did you deal with it? Fang Yuan's lips curled, revealing a cruel smile. I diced Gao Wan's corpse and put it inside a wooden box. When morning came, I put it at the Mo family's back door. What? The academy elder was stunned beyond words as he almost jumped from his seat. Not only did Fang Yuan kill their family servant, he had even chopped up the corpse and placed it at the Mo family's back door. This was blatant provocation. To the academy elder who was trying to resolve this peacefully, it was a true nightmare. Fang Yuan was just a small rank 1 GU master, how would the large Mo family react? Thinking of this, the academy elder felt a headache as the matter had already developed out of his control. This Fang Yuan was a true troublemaker. Sigh, since it has already happened, there's no point in saying any more. Leave first, the punishment will come within these few days, you should get mentally prepared. The academy elder was terribly upset. He waved his hand and signaled for Fang Yuan to leave. He needed to think through this calmly to come up with a solution. Chapter 37 Both a compromise and a threat. Meanwhile, at the Mo family. What were my instructions to you? See what you did. In the study room, Gu Mo Chen slammed the table, exploding with a rage. Mo Yan stood opposite this old man, her head lowered. Her eyes were full of shock and rage. She had also just gotten the news that Gao Wan had been killed by Fang Yuan. That 15-year-old teenager, to think he had such methods and determination. Gao Wan was the proud servant of her Mo family and Fang Yuan's act of killing him was a blatant showing of disrespect towards them. Grandpa, you don't have to be so angry. This Gao Wan was only a servant, his death is of no concern. He isn't a GUU clan member anyways. But that Fang Yuan, he is too daring, you have to look at the owner before you beat the dog. Not only did he beat our dog but he even beat it to death. Mo Yan said indignantly. Gu Mo Chen furiously scowled, you still have the cheeks to say that. Have your wings grown so tough now that you don't even put my words to heart, What I told you before, you have forgotten all about it. Your granddaughter dares not. Mo Yan jumped in shock. She knew now that her grandfather was really angry and quickly kneeled down. Gu Mo Chen pointed his finger out the window and scolded, HMPH, so what if that servant died? But now you are still showing hostility towards Fang Yuan, this is really a matter of you being short-sighted and unclear of the implications. Do you know the significance of your actions? The fight among juniors is their own business. As elders, we should not interfere. These are the rules. Now that you went to find trouble with Fang Yuan, it means you are breaking the rules. I can't tell how many people are out there now, looking at this disgrace of our Mo family. Grandpa, please calm down, anger will harm your body. It's Mo Yan's fault, I burdened the Mo family. Whatever Grandpa tells Mo Yan to do, Mo Yan will do it. But your granddaughter really cannot take this lying down, that Fang Yuan is too despicable, too shameless. First, he lied to me and entered the academy. Next, he hid in the dormitory and no matter how much I scolded him, he would not come out. Once I left, he went ahead and killed Gao Wan. He is extremely sinister and despicable. Mo Yan reported. Oh, is that so? Gu Mo Chen frowned. This was the first time he had heard this information and a bright light shone across his eyes. He took in a deep breath, suppressing his rage and he stroked his beard while saying, I've heard stories about this Fang Yuan. In his early years, he was able to make poems and songs, showing early intelligence. But to think that he only had C-grade talent. It was difficult for him to have a good future and thus I gave up on recruiting him. But now it seems that it's slightly interesting. Pausing for a second, Gu Mo Chen knocked on the table and ordered, someone, bring that box over here. The servant outside the door quickly obeyed. Soon, he brought in a box. The box was neither too big nor too small but it was slightly heavy. The servant used both hands to carry it and stood beside the study table. Grandpa, what is this? Mo Yan stared at the wooden box and asked doubtfully. Why don't you open it and take a look? Gu Mo Chen squinted his eyes and said in a complicated tone. Mo Yan stood up, flipped over the wooden lid and looked inside. Immediately, her facial expression changed and her pupils shrunk to a needle-like size. She could not help but take a step back and let loose an unsuppressed scream. The wooden lid in her hand also fell to the ground. Without the wooden lid, the thing kept within the wooden box was shown to everyone present. It was actually a pile of flesh and blood. The bloody flesh was obviously sliced off piece by piece and placed into the box. Bright scarlet blood had accumulated inside. There was some pale skin and flesh, while some were long strands of intestines, mixed in with a few pieces of bones, either leg bones or the ribs. In the pool of blood at a corner, there were also 2 fingers and half a toe floating in it. Blech. Mo Yan's beautiful face changed color as she took another step backwards, her stomach turning as she almost vomited on the spot. She was rank 2 GU master and had gone out to gain experience before. Despite that, this was the first time that she had seen such a disgusting and twisted scene even though she had killed people before. The flesh and blood in this box were obviously the corpse of a person after being minced into pieces and stuffed in. The scent of blood burst into the air and rapidly permeated the air immediately, filling the entire study room. Both of the family servants' hands shook as he carried the box, his complexion pale. Although he had seen the box earlier and vomited before, he could still feel waves of palpitation and disgust as he held it now. Among the 3 people in the study room, only the family elder Gu Mo Chen was unfazed. He lightly looked at the contents of the box for a moment and said to Mo Yan slowly, "This box was what Fang Yuan had placed at our family's back door this morning." "What, it's really him?" Mo Yan was extremely shocked as images of Fang Yuan showed up in her mind. The first time she saw Fang Yuan, it was at the inn. At that time, Fang Yuan sat near the window, quietly eating his meal. His facial features were bland and both of his eyes were dark and gloomy. His body was thin and his skin had the special paleness of a teenager. He looked like such a normal and quiet youth. To think that he had done such a twisted and insane act. After her initial shock came a furious rage. Mo Yan yelled, "This Fang Yuan is too outrageous, who gave him the guts to do so? To dare to do such a thing, this is a provocation towards our Mo family. I will go ahead now and bring him here to question him for his crimes." After she said this, she headed towards the exit. "You scoundrel, stop right there." Gu Mo Chen was angrier than she was as he grabbed an ink slab on his study desk and threw it over. The hard and heavy ink slab hit Mo Yan's shoulder and with a bang, it fell to the ground. "Grandpa." Mo Yan held her shoulder as she called out in alarm. Gu Mo Chen stood up, his finger pointing at his granddaughter as he spoke with an extremely agitated tone, "It seems like all these years of training were in vain. You have disappointed me greatly. Against a small rank 1 initial stage GU master, not to mention you involving so many people, but even getting led by the nose by the other party. Now that you've let your rage get the better of you, at this point, do you still not understand the meaning behind Fang Yuan's actions?" "What meaning?" Mo Yan was puzzled. Gu Mo Chen snorted, "If Fang Yuan wanted to provoke us, he would have blown up this matter, so why did he place this box at the secluded back door instead of placing it at the front door where there are many people walking around? Maybe he wants to reconcile with us." "No, if he wanted to reconcile, wouldn't it be better to apologize face to face? Why must he send us this box of minced corpse? This is definitely a provocation," Mo Yan said. Gu Mo Chen shook his head, then nodded. "He wants to reconcile, but at the same time, he is also provoking us. Placing the wooden box at the back door is his intention to reconcile. Placing the corpse inside the box, that is a provocation. You see," the old man pointed at the box, and spoke, "this wooden box is not big, and it cannot hold a complete corpse. Therefore there can only be a portion of the corpse inside. He is trying to tell us that he does not wish to blow up this matter and wants to settle this amicably. But if our Mo family wants to pursue this matter, he will place the remainder of the corpse at our main entrance, thoroughly blowing up the issue. By that time, it would be a losing situation for both sides. The entire clan knows that our Mo family broke the rules first, and to our Mo family's future head, this would be seen as him being so weak since he actually required his elders' doting and protection." Upon hearing these words, Mo Yan was momentarily dumbfounded. She had never expected that Fang Yuan's actions would have such profound meaning. "His method is really wise," Gu Mo Chen said with admiration. "With just one action, he exercised both toughness and softness, capable of advancing and retreating safely. This is just a simple wooden box, but it not only expresses Fang Yuan's intention to compromise but also his ability to pose a threat to our Mo family. And it so happens that he does hold on to the weakness of our Mo family. If the Mo family's reputation is tarnished, what follows after will be the Kai family's attack as well as the assault from the clan leader's side." Mo Yan found it unbelievable. "Grandpa, aren't you thinking too highly of him? Are you sure that he's capable of this? He is only 15 years old. Too highly?" Mo Chen looked at his granddaughter unhappily. "Looks like you've had too smooth a life in these past few years. Fostering your arrogant attitude, you are unable to clearly see the reality. This Fang Yuan was unfazed towards danger and deceived you to enter the school. Next, he used his wisdom in the face of danger and hid within the dormitory to avoid trouble. No matter what insult you threw at him, he did not respond. This is his ability to calmly endure. After you left, he killed Gao Wan immediately. This is his bravery and courage. Now he sent this box, clearly showing his wisdom and planning ability. Can you still say that I thought of him too highly? Mo Yan listened with wide eyes as she had not expected her grandfather to praise Fang Yuan so highly. Immediately she said indignantly, Grandpa, he only has AC grade talent. Gu Mo Chen sighed deeply, yes, he is only AC grade. Having such wisdom and yet only C grade talent, it really is a pity. As long as his talent was higher, even if it was just AB grade, he would certainly become an influential member of our Gu clan. What a pity, he is only AC grade. The old man's sigh was full of emotion. His sigh held both regret and at the same time rejoice. Mo Yan was silent and in her mind, Fang Yuan's image appeared once again. Under her psychological influence, Fang Yuan's frail expression was shrouded by a layer of mysterious and vicious shadow. This problem was created by you single-handedly. How are you going to settle it? Gu Mo Chen broke the silence as he started to test Mo Yan. Mo Yan pondered for a while before she replied in a cold and aloof tone, Gao Wan was just a servant, so there are no implications even if he dies. Fang Yuan is just AC grade, so he is also a small matter. What's important is maintaining my Mo family's reputation. To appease this matter, we might as well kill Gao Wan's entire family to show the entire clan our attitude to protect the rules and regulations. You're able to think of the big picture. Setting aside your personal emotions to defend the interests of family, this is very good. However, your method is still flawed. Gu Mo Chen analyzed her response. Please enlighten me, Grandpa, Mo Yan implored. Gu Mo Chen said solemnly, this matter was instigated by you, so I shall punish you with 7 days of confinement. From now on, do not find trouble with Fang Yuan again. Gao Wan defied his superiors, a servant who dares to offend his master deserves death, so he should have been executed for his crimes. Because he is a servant of the Mo family, we are responsible for our inability to educate our subordinate and thus we shall compensate that Fang Yuan with 30 primeval stones. As for Gao Wan's family members, give them 50 primeval stones as compensation and expel them from the clan. After a short pause, he continued, for the next 7 days, rest well at home, do not go out. At the same time, think about the profound meaning of why Grandpa chose to handle the matter this way. Yes, Grandpa. Chapter 38 Demon Walking in the Light. From the layers of dark clouds in the sky, the spring rain fell. The raindrops were thin like hair. As they fell, they enveloped Qingmao Mountain in a layer of fine mist. The dining hall on the first floor of the inn was rather empty. There were only 4 tables of guests. Fang Yuan sat at a seat by the window. A gust of wind blew, bringing with it a poetic atmosphere and the scent of flowers. The light rain from the sky is sleek and crisp, the color of grass is seen from afar but disappears when close. Fang Yuan looked outside through a window and quoted a poem lightly before he turned his sights back to the inn. Before him was a table filled with good wine and dishes. The color, smell and taste were all top-notch. Especially the green bamboo wine which oozed with the fragrance of alcohol along with a hint of freshness. The dark green-colored liquor sat quietly in the bamboo cup. From his angle, it shone with an amber-like luster. A grandfather and his grandson were sitting at the table nearest to him. Being mortal humans, they wore modest clothes. The grandfather sipped his rice wine while looking enviously at Fang Yuan. He was evidently attracted to the green bamboo wine but could not afford it. The grandson ate his braised beans, a crunching sound emitting from his mouth as he chewed. At the same time, he pestered his grandfather, shaking his arm. Grandpa, tell me about the story of Ren Zhu. If you don't tell me, I'll report to Grandma that you secretly came out to drink. Sigh, I can't even drink in peace. The grandfather sighed but his face showed a doting expression towards the child. With his twig-like arm, he patted the boy's head, then let me tell you the story of Ren Zhu who gave his heart to the Hope Jiu, escaping his predicament of being captured. Ren Zhu's story was the most popular and widespread tale in this world, as well as the most ancient legend. The old man's story was something like this. The story mentioned that Ren Zhu was able to escape his predicament because of hope. But eventually he grew old and without strength and wisdom, he could no longer continue to hunt. Even his teeth fell off, making him unable to chew many wild fruits and vegetables. Ren Zhu felt death slowly approaching. At this time, the Hope Jiu said to him, "Human, you must not die. If you die, your heart will be lost and I will lose my only place of residence." Ren Zhu was helpless. Who wishes to die? But if the heavens and earth want me dead, I have no choice. The Hope Jiu said, "There's always hope in everything." As long as you can catch a longevity GU, you will be able to increase your lifespan. Renzu had heard of the existence of the longevity GU long ago, but he waved his hand helplessly. When the longevity GU stays still, nobody can detect it, and when it flies, it is faster than light. How can I possibly catch it? It's too hard. The Hope GU then told Renzu a secret. Human, don't give up hope no matter what. Let me tell you, on the northwest corner of this continent, there is a huge mountain. On the mountain, there is a cave, and in that cave, there is a pair of round and square GU worms. As long as you can subdue them, there is no GU in this world that you cannot catch, including the longevity GU. Renzu had no choice, this was his last remaining hope. He braved all difficulties and finally found the mountain. He then risked his life and ventured through countless dangers to ascend the mountain. On the mountain top, near the cave entrance, he used his last remaining strength to slowly make his way in. The inside of the cave was completely dark and one would not be able to even see their own fingers. Renzu walked in the darkness. Sometimes, he would bump into things not knowing what they were. This caused himself to get injured and wounded all over. At times, he felt that this dark cave was huge beyond words, as if this was a world of its own. He felt as if he was the only person in the area. He spent a lot of time, but he could not walk out of the darkness. Not to mention subduing the two GU worms. Just when he was at a loss about what to do, two voices spoke to him from the darkness. One voice said, "Human, you're here to catch us. Go back, for even if you had the strength GU, it would be impossible." The other said, "Human, go back, we will not take your life. Even if you had the wisdom GU to help you, you may not be able to find us." Renzu laid exhausted on the ground, panting. "The strength and wisdom GU had left me long ago, and I do not have much lifespan left, so I'm at my wit's end. But as long as there's hope in my heart, I will not give up." Hearing Renzu's words, the two voices went silent. After a while, one of the GU said, "I understand, human, you have already given your heart to the Hope GU. You will not give up no matter what." The other continued, "In that case, we shall give you a chance. As long as you can say our name, we will allow you to use us." Renzu was stunned. To find their names among all the words in the world, it was akin to finding a needle in a haystack. Furthermore, he did not even know how many words were in their names. Renzu quickly asked the Hope GU, but it did not know either. Renzu had no alternatives and had no choice but to randomly guess their names. He said many names and wasted a lot of time, but the darkness did not respond to him, so evidently he was wrong. Eventually, Renzu's breath got weaker as he turned from an old man into a dying man. It was like the scene of the evening's setting sun. The sun that would slowly descending had already been lowered halfway across the horizon, becoming a sunset. The food he had brought was gradually reduced, his brain becoming slower, and he barely had any energy to speak anymore. The voice in the darkness urged, "Human, you are almost dead, so we will let you go. Using your remaining time, you can climb out of the cave and take a final look at the world. But you have offended us, and as punishment, the Hope GU shall stay here as our companion." Renzu clenched his heart and rejected, "Even if I die, I will not give up hope." The Hope GU was very touched and answered Renzu's call enthusiastically, emitting a bright light. At Renzu's chest area, a light began to shine. But this light was too weak, it could not illuminate the darkness. In fact, it could not even cover Renzu's entire body, but only engulfed his chest area. Yet Renzu could feel a renewed surge of energy gushing into his body from the Hope GU. He continued to speak, shouting out names. But he was already muddled. A lot of names had already been said, but he could not remember that and repeated them, wasting a lot of effort in the process. As time continued to flow, Renzu's lifespan was almost over. Finally, when he was on his final day, he said out the word, "Regulation." A sigh came from the darkness as a voice spoke, "Human, I admire your perseverance. You have said my name, so from today onwards, I will obey your commands. But only with my brother can I aid you in capturing all the GU in the world. Otherwise, with my ability alone, it is impossible. Thus, you should give up. You're almost dead, you might as well use this chance to take a final look at the world." Renzu was determined and shook his head. He made use of all his time to continue saying out names as he tried to guess the other GU worm's name. Seconds and minutes went by and soon he only had 1 hour left. But at this time, he unknowingly said the word, "Rule." Immediately, the darkness dissipated. The two Gus appeared before him. As the Hope GU had said, one was cubic, called regulations. The other was spherical, called rules. Together, They made up rules and regulations. The two GU said together, no matter who it is, as long as they know our names, we will listen to them. Human, since you know our names already, we will be at your service. But you must remember, it is important to not let others know of our names. The more people that know our names, the more people we have to obey them. Now that you are the first to subdue us, tell us your request. Renzu was overjoyed. Then I order you both, go and catch me a longevity GU. The rules and regulations GU worked together and captured an 80-year longevity GU. Renzu was already 100 years old, but after consuming this GU, the wrinkles on his face vanished and his frail limbs became muscular again. A vibrant aura of youth oozed from him. With a belly flop, he jumped up onto his feet. He ecstatically looked at his body, knowing that he had regained the body of a 20-year-old. That's all for today, let's go home, grandson. The old man, having completed the story, finished his wine as well. Grandpa, continue telling me, what happens to Renzu after? The grandson was unyielding as he shook his grandfather's arm. Let's go, I'll tell you when there's another chance. The old man wore his straw hat and jacket, then gave his grandson another set that was a smaller size. The two walked out of the inn, stepping into the rain and slowly vanishing from sight. Rules and regulations. Fang Yuan's gaze was dark as he twirled his wine cup, looking at the liquor in his cup. His heart was touched. Renzu's legend was widespread throughout this world and there were almost no people who did not know of him. Fang Yuan had naturally heard of him too. But no matter if it was a legend or a story, it was dependent on the knowledge of the reader. The grandfather and grandson earlier merely treated it as a story, but Fang Yuan could understand the deeper meaning. Just like that Renzu. When he did not know the rules and regulations, he explored in the dark. Sometimes he bumped into things, knocking into others, causing himself to get injured and look like a mess. And at times within a wider area, he got lost and confused, moving without a sense of direction or purpose. This darkness was not purely black or the absence of light. Strength, wisdom and hope could not oppose it. Only when Renzu knew of the rules and regulations and said their names did the darkness dissipate and invite light into Renzu's life. The darkness was the darkness of the rules and regulations and the light was also the light of the rules and regulations. Fang Yuan switched his gaze from his cup and looked outside through the window. He saw that outside the window, the sky was still dark, the greenery abundant and the pelting rain flying by like mist. Close by, the bamboo tall houses were lined up in a row, extending far out. On the road, several people walked, their feet stained with the mud from the rain. Some of them wore grayish-green straw coats, while others carried yellow oiled cloth umbrellas. Fang Yuan concluded, this world's heaven and earth is like a huge chessboard. All lifeforms are chess pieces, acting in accordance with their rules and regulations. The 4 seasons have their own rules and regulations, rotating between spring, summer, autumn, and winter. The flow of water has its own rules and regulations, flowing from high ground to low ground. Hot air has its own rules and regulations, floating upwards. Humans naturally also have their own rules and regulations. Everybody has their own standpoints, desires, and principles. For example, in the Guu village, the servants' lives are cheap while their masters' lives are noble. This is a part of rules and regulations. Because of this, Shen Kui, who wants to get close to the rich and affluent, is doing her best to try and escape her servant status. Gao Wan tried all means and methods to please his master, using their authorities for himself. As for uncle and aunt, they gave in to greed, wanting to hoard my parents' inheritance. The academy elder wants to nurture GU masters to maintain his position in the academy. Everyone has their own rules and regulations, every profession has its own rules and regulations, and every society and group also have their own rules and regulations. Only by understanding the rules and regulations can we see the situation clearly from the side. Gone with the darkness and embrace the light, moving around the rules with much to spare. Fang Yuan thought about his own situation, his heart already clear. To the Mo family's head Guu Mo Chen, it is to protect his family branch's prosperity and benefits. Mo Yan found trouble with me and that would be considered spoiling the rules, so for the sake of his family honor, he will not do anything to me. In fact, he might even compensate me. Actually, the Mo family has great influence, so if they risk their reputation and are bent on punishing me, there is nothing I can do to resist them. However, Guu Mo Chen is afraid. He is not afraid of himself breaking the rules, but he is afraid that others will follow in his footsteps. In a junior's scuffle, if the elders interfere, it would aggravate the situation. If it involved the higher-ups, it'd pose a threat to the entire mountain village. Guu Mo Chen's fear lied here. What if in future conflicts, others laid their hands on his grandson Gu Mo Bei? In his entire family line there's only one male, so what would happen if he died? This kind of fear, maybe he doesn't realize it himself. He is only subconsciously protecting the rules. Fang Yuan's eyes were clear as he had the perfect grasp and understanding of the matter from start till the end. Gao Wan's surname was not Gu. Instead, he was an outsider, a servant. The master executing a servant was nothing to be alarmed about. In this world, it was normal. In the case of Fang Yuan killing Gao Wan's death was not crucial. The crucial part was his master, the Mo family behind him. However, Gu Mo Chen should be able to understand my intention of compromise and threat from the time I sent a box of a minced corpse to them. This is also what I want him to think. If I'm not wrong, the Mo family will not pursue Gao Wan's death. Of course, if I had better talent and was at least AB grade, the Mo family would feel threatened. Even with the loss of their reputation, they would want to suppress a future threat such as myself. Fang Yuan snickered in his heart. Strength can be relied on, but weakness can also be used as an advantage. Although Fang Yuan was in the game of chess as a pawn, he was clear of the rules and regulations, thus he already had the mentality of a player. An ordinary character would at most be like Gu Mo Chen or the Academy Elder, also knowing their own rules and regulations but unsure of their non-expertise. Being like Fang Yuan, who had a clear view of the big picture and was clear of rules and regulations, was extremely difficult. To understand rules and regulations, one has to be like Ren Zhu, stumbling around in the dark and wandering about aimlessly. At this point, strength, wisdom, and hope would be useless. One must spend a lot of time going through it themselves and gaining the experience. For Ren Zhu to be able to say out the names of the rules and regulations this was after spending time. Under the threat of death, he had tried countless of times. Fang Yuan was an expert in rules and regulations due to his 500 years of experience in from past life. After his rebirth, he believed that he could create a brilliant future. Not because of the spring and autumn cicada, not because he knew many secret troves and treasures, not because he knew what the future held. But because of the 500 years of experience that he had gained as a person. Just like how Ren Zhu controlled the rules and regulations and was able to easily capture all the Gu in the world. And Fang Yuan was so familiar with rules and regulations, thus he was able to look down upon the world and see through its truths and lies. Being meticulous and precise, or getting right to the heart of the matter. I proudly laugh as I stand on top of the world, coldly looking at the people in the world who behaved like pawns, obeying their respective rules and regulations, living their lives in a straightforward manner. The rules and regulations of the darkness is darkness, and the rules and regulations of the light is light. But the reborn demon had stepped foot under the path of light. Chapter 39 Toad Caravan Merchant. The month of May was a transition between spring and summer. The fragrance of flowers filled the air, the huge mountains evergreen, and the sunlight began to gradually release its ardent side. Under the clear azure skies, the white clouds drifted like cotton. On Qingmao Mountain, the bamboo forest was straight like spears as always, pointing towards the blue sky. Weeds grew wildly everywhere, and unknown varieties of wild flowers dotted the grass thicket. As the light breeze blew, the wild grass moved to and fro, the heavy fragrance of flower pollen and the smell of green grass assailing visitors. Halfway up the mountain was a huge number of terraced fields. Layer by layer, step by step, the soft green wheat sprouts were planted down. From afar, it looked like a verdant green sea. On the terraced fields were numerous farmers busily working away. There were some farmers cleaning the canal for the channeling of water to irrigate the fields, while some farmers were rolling up their trousers, standing in the fields and planting sprouts. These people were naturally all mortal outsiders, as the Gu clansmen would never have do these lowly jobs. Ring, ring, the sound of camel bells could be faintly heard in the spring breeze. The farmers straightened their bodies as they headed down the mountain, only to see a caravan moving like a colorful worm from the mountainside, slowly showing its head. It's the merchant caravan. Yes, it's already May, it is about time for the caravan to come. The adults caught on the situation at once, and the children stopped playing with the water and clay in their hands. Together, they energetically approached the caravan. The southern borders had 100,000 mountains, Qingmao Mountain was just one of them. On every mountain, there were villages after villages, which were maintained by everyone through their blood relationships and kinships. In between the mountains, the forests were deep and ominous, the cliffs steep and full of the dangerous falling rocks. Additionally, in the complex surroundings of the forest dwelled a large number of ferocious beasts and peculiar Gu worms. Mortals could not pass through at all. It was difficult to get past these obstacles alone, one had to at least be a rank 3 GU master. Because of the poor economy, trading was difficult. Thus, the most important form of trading was through the caravan merchants. Only by organizing a merchant group in such a large scale could GU masters come together with the power to help each other, conquering the difficulties in the traveling routes and traversing from one mountain to another. The merchant caravan's arrival was like a bowl of boiling water that poured into the peaceful and serene Qingmao Mountain. All these past years they would come in April, but this year they only arrived in May. At least they're here now. The owner of the inn let out a deep breath upon hearing the news. The inn's business was poor in the other months, so only when the caravan came could he earn enough profit to last the year. At the same time, there was some green bamboo wine within his storage that he could sell to the caravan merchants. Besides the inn, the business at the tavern would also boom as a result. The caravan merchants entered the Guu mountain village one by one, led by a treasure brass toad. This toad was 2.5 meters tall, its entire body orange-yellow in color. The back of the toad was thick and full of warts and knots. It was like the lumps of bronze nails on ancient city gates. On the treasure brass toad's back, thick ropes were tied around plenty of goods. At a glance, it seemed like the toad was carrying a giant backpack. A middle-aged man with a circular face full of pockmarks sat cross-legged atop the toad. He was fat and had a large belly. Both of his eyes formed into slits when smiling. He cupped his fists as he greeted the surrounding Guu villagers. This man's name was Fu of the Jia clan. His cultivation was at rank 4 and he was the leader of the merchant caravan this time. The treasure toad hopped slightly as it moved forward, but Jia Fu, who was sitting on its head, was stable and steady. When the toad hopped, his height would level with the windows on the second floor of a building. Even when he was back on the ground, he was at a height greater than the first level of the bamboo buildings. The originally spacious streets were suddenly rather packed and narrow. The treasure brass toad was like a beast that intruded into the midst of a great number of bamboo houses. After the treasure toad was a huge fat worm. It had 2 eyes that were similar to multicolored glass windows, the colors bright and gorgeous. The worm was 15 meters long, its body shape resembling a silkworm. However, the surface of the worm was covered in a thick layer of black porcelain-like leather armor. On the armor was another abundant pile of goods and merchandise, a hemp rope tied around it. In between the gaps and intervals of the goods, Guu masters sat one by one, some old and some young. There were also mortals who were robust and sturdy martial warriors, slowly moving forward on the ground following after a fat black beetle. After the fat beetle, there were ostriches with brightly colored feathers, hairy mountain spiders, winged snakes with 2 pairs of feathered wings and so on. However, these were in small numbers, most of the creatures were toads. These toads were all similar to the treasure brass toad, but they were smaller in size and had the build of cows and horses. The toads were carrying merchandise and people, their bellies bulging as they hopped forward. The merchant caravan wound deep into the village. Children on the road would look on curiously with wide eyes, calling out in joy or exclaiming in surprise. The windows on the second stories opened one after another, the mountain villagers observing the merchants from a short distance. Some had eyes that flashed with fear and some others waved their hands to express a warm welcome. "Old brother Jia, you came a little late this year, you must have had a hard journey." Approaching with the identity of a clan head, Guu Bo came out himself to greet the leader of this year's merchant caravan. As Jia Fu had the status of a rank 4 Guu master, if a rank 3 elder were to be in charge of receiving him, it would be undoubtedly be seen as a kind of negligence and scorn. Jia Fu cupped his fists and sighed, this year's road was rather unfavorable. On the way we bumped into a group of secluded bloodbaths and we lost quite a few good men. Then on Jubai Mountain we ran into a mountain fog, and we didn't dare to continue traveling at all. So we were delayed for quite a lot of time, and caused brother Guu to wait for quite a while. As they spoke, their tones were very polite. The Guu village needed the merchant caravans every year to come and trade, and the merchant caravan also needed business to make money. Ha, it's good enough that you are able to come. Please, the clan has prepared food and wine, let me host a welcoming dinner for you, old brother. Guu Bo stretched out his hand and said invitingly. Clan head is polite, too polite. Jia Fu was flattered. The merchant caravan arrived at the boundaries of the Qingmao Mountain in the early morning, and by afternoon they were stationed in the Guu village. When it was dusk, the surroundings of the village had formed into a widespread area of temporary shops and stores. All kinds of red, blue, yellow and green lofty tents were built and every inch between the tents was squeezed with numerous little street stalls. The night was descending, yet it was still brightly lit in the area. An endless stream of pedestrians spilled into the area from the village. There were mortals as well as gu masters. The little children hopped around in high spirits, and the adults showed an expression of joy akin to celebrating a festival. Fang Yuan moved along with the crowd, walking alone. The crowd was bustling with activity, groups of people either surrounding the stalls or endlessly pouring in and out of the entrance of the tents. The surroundings were filled with the shouts of merchants hawking their wares. Come, take a look. Top-notch blue sea cloud tea brick, drinking this tea makes one as cheerful as a fairy. Even if it's not a person drinking, it can be used for feeding and raising TGU, it is a cheaply priced item for its value. One piece only costs 5 primeval stones. Brute force longhorn beetle GU, a GU master who uses this GU will be able to burst out with the strength of a cow. You can walk away, but don't regret it. Intimate grass, high-quality intimate grass. Everyone look at this quality, it's as fresh as if a newly picked one. One caddy for 2 pieces of primeval stones, very cheap price. As Fang Yuan heard this, his footsteps paused slightly, then he followed the sound and walked over. He saw an ostrich pulling a handcart with 2 wheels. On the handcart was a heap of pastel green herbs. Every blade of grass was a meter in length, slender and long. Their average width was around that of a fingernail. On some of the pointed tips of the grass grew red heart-shaped flower buds. The intimate grass was one of a GU worm's supplementary food type. Its worth was stemmed from the fact that it could be used to pair up with a few other foods to feed a GU worm. For example, Fang Yuan needed to give 2 pieces of flower petals every meal to the moonlight GU when feeding it. If he mixed in a blade of intimate grass, the moonlight GU would be full just from eating 1 petal. The intimate grass only costs 2 pieces of primeval stones per caddy, while the moon orchid petal cost a primeval stone for every 10 pieces. With a simple calculation, one would know that mixing the intimate grass in to feed the GU would be more cost-effective. Half a month ago, because I used the moonlight GU in the academy to kill Gao Wan, I was fined 30 primeval stones. However, the Mo family paid me 30 primeval stones later as compensation, so I didn't really take any losses. In recent days I have robbed twice, my total number of stones amounts to 118. However, recently I continuously spent essence to refine middle-stage primeval essence and nurture the 4 walls of my aperture, and I would use up 3 pieces of stones every day. Adding on the costs of feeding GU, my own daily expenses and successively buying green bamboo wine, I have 98 pieces at hand right now. Ever since Fang Yuan killed a person, the cruel and callous image had deeply rooted itself into the hearts of the students, and for a time no one dared to challenge him. This led to his plundering becoming much easier, as every time only a very small number would dare to resist. Fang Yuan calculated in his heart, then he moved his line of sight and continued walking deeper into the heart of the setup of temporary stores. The intimate grass stall was surrounded by a group of people. They were all either GU masters or students, holding primeval stones in their hands as they shouted and rushed to buy it. It was not that Fang Yuan lacked the money to buy intimate grass, but he had no time. If memory serves, that mudskin toad should be in that store. In my previous life there was a GU master who got it from gambling on the first night, hence he earned big time. I must hurry, I cannot lose a great deal through trying to save a little. Chapter 40 Toad GU slumbering within the purple gold rock. The further one walked, the more flourishing and prosperous it was. Small street vendors lessened while large tents increased in number. There were all sorts of large tents to be seen, red, blue, green, yellow, in different shapes and sizes, several being a cylindrical shape. Some erected 2-door pillars at the entrance of their tents, while others hung large red lanterns instead. Inside, some tents had vibrant lights, whereas others were dim and dark. Fang Yuan observed his surroundings as he walked, finally stopping near a gray-colored tent. It's here, he evaluated while looking at the tent. It had 2 pillars at the entrance, and there were carvings on the pillars, 2 lines of antithetical couplet 1. The left side wrote, small display of courage, obtain good fortune during the 4 seasons. The right side wrote, large display of skills, obtain good prosperity in all 4 directions. In the middle there was still another line, luck changes with time. That's right, this is a gambling den. This gambling den took around 1 mu of land, it was considered a large-sized tent. Fang Yuan walked inside. Inside of the tent, there was 3 rows of counters on a side. On the counter were pieces of amber or fossils. Some were as big as a palm, others were as big as a face. There were also others which were even bigger, those were as tall as a person. It obviously could not fit on the counter, thus it was directly placed on the ground. Different from the other tent shops, it was silent in here. Several GU masters stood before the counters, some meticulously observing rocks on the display counter while others took the fossils and rubbed it in their hand to get a feel of it. There were some that were discussing quietly with their companions, and some were discussing the price with their shop clerks. But no matter what they discussed, they spoke softly, doing their best not to disturb others. This was a rock gambling den. In the GU world, there were all types of GU, coming with different shapes and sizes and all sorts of effects. Gooworms have their respective food to consume. Without food, they can only last a short amount of time before dying. But nature, towards lifeforms, was both uncaring and benevolent. If they lacked food, the GU worms still have a chance of survival. That was to hibernate, undergoing self-sealing. For example, if the moonlight GU did not have moon orchid petals to consume, it may undergo self-sealing. It will try to maximize the conservation of its strength, like winter hibernation, falling into a deep slumber. At this time, not only would the blue glow on its body dissipate, it would also turn from a transparent crystal state into a gray rock, covered in a layer of rock shell. Eventually, the rock crust will get thicker and turn into a boulder. Or for example the liquor worm, if it underwent self-sealing, it would form a white cocoon around it, curling its body and falling into a deep sleep within the cocoon. Of course this situation of sealing and hibernating may not happen to every GU worm. It has a small chance of occurrence, and in most cases, the GU worm will not fall into hibernation but instead starve to death. Only a small number of GU worms may, under specific situations, undergo self-sealing. A few GU masters who accidentally obtain these sealed GU worms, rocks or cocoons would awaken the gooworms that were slumbering within. Thus they would have a stroke of fortune. Some of the GU masters became successful due to this, it being a turning point in their lives. These situations happen frequently in the Goomaster world, often being fake or real rumors, giving people hopes and dreams. The source of the idea behind this rock gambling den originated from these rumors. Of course, these rocks all looked alike on the outside. Only after opening them can one determine if there really is a GU worm hidden inside. In a small-sized rock gambling den like this, 9 out of 10 rocks are solid core, having no GU worms inside. Even if there are GU worms inside the rock, they may not be living worms, most of them are dead GU. But once someone hits the jackpot of a live GU, under most situations, one would be able to earn a huge fortune. If the gooworm is a rare species, they either become a successful person in life or get murdered and robbed of their fortune. Fang Yuan was clear about this in his heart, being very familiar with the situation beyond these doors. In his past life, he had participated in a merchant caravan before, being a clerk in the rock gambling den. Some time later, he even operated his own rock gambling den, even larger than this one. It was a medium-sized rock gambling den. He managed to con some gamblers, and also misjudged at times, allowing other gamblers to win a precious GU worm. Fang Yuan stood at the door for a while, taking a glance around him before slowly walking to the counter on the left side. Behind the counter, there was a shop assistant every few meters, both males and females. On their waist hung a green-colored belt, showing that they were not ordinary people but rank 1 GU masters. Most were initial stages, while a selected few were middle stages. Seeing Fang Yuan before a counter, a female GU master who was nearest by walked towards him and smiled, softly saying, "Young master, what GU worm do you need? Every rock on this counter is sold at 10 primeval stones each. If this is your first try, just for the sake of it, why don't you go to the right counter? The rocks there are sold at only 5 primeval stones. If you are seeking thrills, you can go to the high-end counter at the middle, the rocks sold there are at 20 primeval stones each." This was an experienced female GU master, having worked at the rock gambling den for quite some time already. She looked at Fang Yuan who entered, and determined that he was a student from his appearance, age and height etc. Those that came to gamble were all GU masters. Students were only considered second-rate GU masters, just starting their cultivation. Because they're often tight on finance due to feeding their GU worms, where would they find the money to come and gamble rocks? Students like this, normally they just came to take a look and to get an eye-opening experience, satisfying their curiosity. Most were only window shoppers, though if some had well-to-do families, they might attempt to buy one to try. But most only bought the cheapest fossil. Thus, the female GU master had no expectations towards how many rocks Fang Yuan could buy. "Let me look around first." Fang Yuan nodded at her expressionlessly, then started to look seriously into the pile. In his memory, it should be at this counter in this particular rock gambling den. But it had been 500 years, it's been too long. Many things were vague to him already, especially when 500 years of memory was a huge capacity, so to be honest Fang Yuan could not remember distinctly. He could only vaguely recall that during this year on the first night the caravan arrived, a lucky bird spent 10 primeval stones to buy a fossil with purple gold luster. After he opened it on the spot, he obtained a mudskin toad. Afterwards this toad Gu was bought by another person, thus causing him to earn a small fortune of primeval stones. Fang Yuan frowned after observing for a while. On this counter, fossils with a purple gold glow numbered up to 20. In which rock was there a hidden mudskin toad? Every rock here was sold at 10 primeval stones each. Right now Fang Yuan had 98 primeval stones with him, and he could buy up to a maximum of 9 pieces. But realistically, he could not count like this. In any sort of risk and gamble, one had to consider the consequences. Fang Yuan was no longer a greenhorn, like those gamblers who thought they were blessed by heaven. Those who thought they were blessed by fate were usually those who fell under the mischief of fate itself. I am alone, with no relatives or friends that can help me. I have to save some primeval stones to survive, as well as to buy food for my Gu worms. He counted, and under the most basic reservation, he could buy at most 7 pieces of fossils. This rock, the purple gold is dotted like the stars, but it's flat as a pancake, there's definitely no mudskin toad inside. This piece has striking purple gold color, but it is only fist-sized. If there really is a mudskin toad inside, the rock should be at least 30% larger. This purple gold fossil, well it's big, but the surface is extremely smooth, while the mudskin toad's skin is supposed to be rough and uneven, this is evidently not the one. Fang Yuan continued to observe and evaluate, using the method of cancellation. When Gu worms hibernate after self-sealing, they would form into a natural fossil, being undetectable from most of the world's detection methods. The remaining detecting methods were too rough, and once used, it would instantly kill the Gu worm within that is barely alive. Thus, when Gu masters choose rocks, they could only rely on their guessing, experience and luck, sometimes relying on a little bit of instinct. Otherwise, this would not be called gambling. Of course, in this wide world, there are countless wonders, and one cannot exclude the fact that a detection method which is extremely gentle exists, allowing a Gu master to know if the rock contains a gooworm. Fang Yuan had heard of such rumors in his past life, but after experimenting, found that it was all lies. Fang Yuan assumed privately, if such a method really exists, it has to be a hidden legacy, controlled in the hands of a small number of mysterious people, having no impact on the gambling business. It was still tame around the Qingmao mountain region, but the more one moves east, the more prosperous gambling dens become. At the Bai-2-3 mountain region, every family village had its own gambling den. In some large-sized forts, there were even large-sized gambling dens built. The 3 villages that were famous for their rock gambling were Panxi 4th village, Jiumu 5th village and Kangjing 6th village, where there were even mega-sized gambling dens. These 3 mega-sized gambling dens each had 1,000 years of history. Currently, their business was still blooming, with an endless number of gamblers. There had never been a situation of clean sweep by anyone. Currently, the tent that Fang Yuan was in can only be barely qualified as a small-sized gambling den. If it was any other 15-year-old who came, they would definitely be confused by all the different fossils, and even if they chose it, it would be by random guessing. But Fang Yuan was different. Firstly, he already knew a portion of the answer from the start, thus his search range shrunk to less than 30 pieces. Of course, to find that one rock out of these 20-odd pieces was extremely difficult as well. But using his 500 years of experience as backing, with such a rich pool of information he picked out 6 pieces of purple gold fossils that best fit the criteria after observing for a while. He had an 80% chance of confidence that the mudskin toad was hibernating within one of these 6 fossils.